will take it home.
What a game.
Take a victory lap, take a bow, and take the headsets off and start to yell.
Cycling through, back to Blizzaga. Oh, pulled the counter twice out, but not gonna find it, and run off Shadow Ball will do the trick. At 0 is all of a sudden up to 78%, make it 90. Another roller doesn't find the mark this time, but his dash attack and forward tilt will only find shield.
Ooh, and now that might just be game. No strong hit, but pop him off the top with the sneakers.
Luddite very aware, I think, of what X-Wing wants to do. Is that's going to be no tech in that situation, and that means that stock is gone. Gray, another string of back airs, and that one will be shut down. They will be able to get back to the ledge, but that's going to be another miss. The jump, the up B, and it's not enough. Rinse, repeat from the second.
It looks like we have, was overkill, a disconnect, whatever's happening here. On Solo Burger is just tearing right through them. 3 kill, oh my goodness. They still have so much left to work through. A nice weapon upgrade here. Raze is gonna throw it right back into their face. Look how far Kira's pushed up. They'd be able to, whoa. Joe! This is just what we needed to see from Brooklyn.
But I was going to say, Handy Crackers in the offensive attack, he had such a good size up on that one, but got denied by the defense of Merrimack.
I mean, this is a player that's been peak at 2200.
You know, someone keeps on stealing it, just doing hot laps at this point in time. But regardless of the fact, 15 seconds left here in game number 2. Breakaway chance right here for Bagels. He's going to put this one in.
Hammy Cracker's going up high in the sky, gets the flip reset. Looks like a musty there from the sky. Losan going for a double. This is their GC1. Looked like he had a triple tap.
So much more aggressive on the offensive end. When you have an offensive push like that, you cannot afford to just leave somebody just wide open.
Oh
2 back-to-back misses.
On their feet, sound barrier in play. They want to push on up.
Welcome in, everybody. My name is Pyro J. I'm joined here with the lovely Rocket Star, and we are so excited to present to you the ECAC round number 6. It's the Elite Division 2, and boy, do we have a matchup for you all. Best of 7 Rocket League. I always get excited to cast some car ball, Rocket Star. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. This should be a really good one. We got Virginia Wesleyan University, and we have Concord Esports Gray. Both of these teams are 0-4 in their division, so they're both looking for a shot at redemption, and really, I'm excited to see what's going to happen on the pitch.
Yeah, that idea of shot of redemption, right? That you're kind of going up head-to-head against another team that's sort of at that same level, sort of also grinding for that first win in this Elite Division 2, which, as we know, the Elite Division, it's a really, really tough division. So no surprise that there are some teams having a hard time getting that first win. So it's going to make us probably go the distance in the match, Rocket Star. We'll see. But just a quick introduction before we get into this matchup. Best of 7 here for this round. The VWU squad has Jalen, Bailey, and Braided Axe. And over on Concord University, Sora, Smiley, and Tay. Rockstar, I don't know if any of those names really pop out to you. If you could even take a wild guess to see who do you think is gonna pop off today? Who are your eyes really set on?
Definitely Virginia Wesleyan.
Okay.
VWU has an SSL. They have 2 GC2s. So their roster is a little bit more stacked. And when we look at Concord, they don't have an SSL. So an SSL with any mix of players is always going to be a lot harder to take care of. But if Concord is smart, they're probably going to go for demos and be a lot more challenge-wise in the face of their opponents, and they might have a shot at winning this.
All right, let's see if we get that disruption play, taking VW out of their rhythm from Concord Esports Gray. Like Rocket Star is talking about here as we jump right into game number 1. And already a hot shot from Sura. We're getting things started pretty quick here.
We are. You know, we forgot to get your prediction before anybody scores. Pyro, how do you think this one's going to go?
You know what? I have so little information on some of these players aside from what you said, Rocket Star, so I'll just go with a gut feeling of Sura. That's the first shot we saw. We just got a save there from Sura as well, so you know what? Give me Concord for this first match.
Oh, wow. Okay, nice. And, you know, a little bit of a cast a curse there, but...
A little bit.
A little bit. It happens to all of us. The timing was interesting, though. Nice shot coming in.
Jalen gonna be opening up our scoreboard here. Jalen now sitting here 1 for 1. So getting things started really nicely as Concord University yet to get their first goal, but you can already recognize, Rocket Star, we're working at a very fast pace of this game. Quick clears, quick follow-ups. Aerials look really efficient as well. I like what I see.
And it makes sense. Jalen's actually a record-setting track and field competitor at his school. And as we talk about him and his team, there's the pass by the fast man himself, passed it to his teammate, his captain, Braided Axe, putting another on.
Wow. Yeah, Jalen rocking it in the IRL sports and as well in the esports. We love to see a multi-talented athlete out here in the collegiate space. Fantastic. And Braided Axe on that Dominus. I don't know, Rockstar, are you a fan of the Dominus? It tends to get some power shots a little easier, but for me, it's just tougher to maneuver.
As a Dominus main, definitely. I love the Dominus. We get great clears from it, and we also tend to get much better aerial feeling. I feel like it's a car that is about feeling, right? Cars are about how you feel in them, not necessarily you know, the turn radius and all the specs that people put out there. It's about how sexy we feel in the vehicle. I mean, look at how smooth Axe was looking just there. He was feeling himself. I could tell.
I can tell as well, and I couldn't agree more. It's the feel, but we're still seeing if Concord can get a feel for this defense of VWU, because that is another shot attempted, but another shot blocked well by VWU. They are just putting a barricade up on this defensive line, as well as on Tay's clear to the backboard. Nothing's giving, especially on the counter, as Bailey strikes for a third goal.
This regulation match is going through quick for them right now. Virginia looking clean as a whistle. And there just really has not been any response for Concord. I think what they need to do is turn on my favorite tactic, physicality.
Whoa. Okay. I thought
Whoa, that was dicey.
we were going to see physical play in terms of the ball to their own net there for a second, but thankfully we did not. Still, obviously, Concord University finding their footing, which is something hard to do when they're firing away. However, Smiley with a chance here. Ball's going to come right off the backboard.
Ooh.
Bailey giving up their life for that clear as Braided X follows it off the backboard. Pass there, but shot taker demoed. There's the disruption play that's coming through from Concord.
Yeah, they just weren't able to complete it out, and it really suffered. I mean, they tried everything they could, but couldn't get it on, and I liked the ongoing attempts to make a change. Can we see it here? Tay's instantly challenged by Bailey.
Yeah, that instant challenge is going to quell the fury right away, but the possession is undying here. Sura welcoming the ball at the half-court line. Tay just trying to get a 50-50 to go to counteract the ability of VWU, but that ability has steamrolled right past CU many times, and it may continue to do so here. Tay, though, off the corner, and that's batted away well yet again by VWU.
I like that little redirect play we saw from them. I mean, this is why so far VW has been on top, but Tay looked like he had the max. He looked like he had the tool belt like Batman for a moment, but just a little bit of a fakey there.
We love a good fake every now and then, but I think for Concord University, they want to execute here on a 2v1 breakaway chance here. Jalen survives and contests the ball. Thought maybe we'd see Concord try to get the bump on that last defender, asking for that physical play. It just didn't come through there.
Yeah, this ongoing attack, you think it's going to go in their favor, but the moment they get the ball in their possession, CU actually just throws it right away, and VW knows this is happening, so they're just capitalizing every time, and even giving CU the space to do so because it ends up right in their hands. Again, there it is.
Again, there it is, like you said, yeah, the giving away of the possession, the ball, again and again, it's in the hands, it's in the laps of VWU. How many times will they send this ball away as they return to sender? We don't want this package at the half-court line. They do it again. Braided Axe out to Bailey, cut off well by Smiley. Jalen has a take right down the field, and Bailey gets right in front of it so as to not offer the easy clear from Tay. Coming down to those final seconds here, game number one is still Concord University yet to score. It's Sura back to Smiley. Demolition there, two of them there for Tay. Does that open the avenue for at least one goal here at the dying seconds of regulation? No. Taken away yet again. And VWU, it's a flawless game one victory.
And they did so without any goals coming from CU. And CU tried so hard. The amount of physical attempts just were insane that match. I mean, every shot opportunity they had, they threw it at the net. Unfortunately, they all turned into clears, and this was looking a lot more like volleyball, aka drop shot. Like the ball just was not, it was hot potato all over the place. Nobody was trying to drop the ball on the ground. That's what it looked like to me. I didn't see a lot of redirects. I didn't see a lot of attempts for looking for your teammates' passes. Concord has to slow down and rethink what they're doing on this pitch and hit the ball within 10.
Agreed. That intention behind the play is going to become paramount for Concord University if they look to come back in this matchup. We talked about it earlier. Both teams here yet to find their win in the Elite Division number 2. So this really being their best chance at doing exactly that, Rocket Star. You know they're fighting hard for it.
Oh, they definitely are. You can definitely feel the sweat coming off the controller off to our screens. This like 3D sweat just hitting our faces right now. This is how much these guys want to turn around their luck. I mean, nobody wants to stay 0-4. They want to change their luck. They want to change their direction. But what they need to do is build a blueprint to make that happen. So I hope they use the 60 seconds between this first match and this now second match to really figure out what they can do to get back in it.
I guess we will find out. For VWU, though, they just want to improve on exactly what they've been doing, which is dominating that backboard, getting solid rebounds and good shot chances. It was 6-3 in the shot differential favoring VWU, so it's no surprise to see them start out on the possession, but it's a turnaround here from Concord University to see if they can get that first point.
They're trying very hard over and over, but again, a little bit of tennis going down right now. Smiley, though, tries to get it past. It ends up being right to Braided Axe, and it ends up being a shot somehow. What?
This was like a loose ball in the basketball stadium and everyone's diving for it, right? Tay with Sura both on the ball, and, well, one of them has a shot on target. Through the chaos, through the antics, it is Concord University that rises above it.
I mean, and they figured it out, right? Maybe they heard us in the broadcast and said, hey, we can't be having them think that Concord is just here to take a L. We're going to show them what we're about. And I like it. It is the start of a fiery streak for the Concord team.
Is this the start of something new, Rocket Star? Maybe it is. The cutoff is fantastic from Smiley. That is incredible vision on the field. Sometimes it's scary to cut rotation like that, but cutting straight into the dunk goal was exactly the type of play that Concord University needed, coupled with this shot on target. Luckily for VW, Braided Axe gets a piece of it.
We can tell Concord's positioning has become a lot more aggressive, almost just progressively aggressive, I would like to say. It's smart pushing versus how they were before, where it looked like nobody was ever ready for passes. And I mean, geez, talk about it right there again. This is another team playing right now. Concord's on another level. We've not seen them score anything in the first game, and here they are a minute and a half in and have scored 3.
I'm wondering if Smiley was like offended by getting beaten in game number 1. You know, they're coming into this game with vengeance. Smiley again right on the ball after the kickoff, so just seems to know where to be at all times, and sometimes it does come down to that positioning for the defensive VWU. These players need to make sure that there are reinforcements in place to follow up these shot chances from CU. Another one developing here is Sir off the backboard double tap, and that's it as well. This team can't be stopped.
They really want to change around their reputation right now, and they're not letting us even breathe for a moment. We get another shot for them. They are just on fire, and where is the answer coming from Virginia Wesleyan? They have to get in their face, at least get some more challenges. There you go. Read what's happening and be there for these plays, because that's really what's holding them back from winning this. But I do like to see Concord just really coming in here and dominating for once.
And I do as well. I mean, this switch up has been surprising, to say the least. And not because I didn't believe in Concord University. Heck, you know what? I voted for this team to win the series when you asked me, Rocket Star. But, I mean, when you talk about how quick VWU started, maybe Concord just needed to warm up those engines, as they certainly have, on another advance to the net. Ew! It was a breathtaking miss from Bailey, but it's even better from Braided Axe. The save on the line at the last second.
My heart rate is going on this roller coaster that these teams are taking me on. What is happening? All these attacks at the net, and we still don't get a goal for this squad. You got to feel a little bit right now, but Virginia trying to just figure it out, and time is ticking away. I mean, they still got 2 minutes, but Tay's in the air, Braden's alone, and it's a goal.
Is this a Rocket League game or like a dunk contest? This looks like a freestyle effort from Tay, the near 360, before getting it on target. Right under the crossbar. Incredible shot from Tay.
I mean, there's a reason he has this SSL hoops badge on right now. He wants us all to know that he's no one to fret with. He knows what he's doing, and he knows how to dunk. He knows how to get goals for his team. Maybe you're right. They just needed the warm-up, but there just is no answer right now coming from their opponents, and I want to see something. I want to see some demos. The respect on this pitch has been immense. Do you not agree?
Yeah, the space provided the players, and that respect, as you mentioned, is it needs to be shifted a little bit, maybe. because we're getting those incredible aerial efforts, especially from Sura. We almost saw another just off the angle, but Tay, it's back pass they're going to pick up. Here at the half-court line, Sura picks this up. Smiley's there as reinforcements. They're not anymore. Demoed off the stage. Tay, though, going to assist in the effort. The ball's down off the ceiling. Back up high in the sky. Batted away to the half-court line. Braided Axe continues the attack. Maybe this is the shift needed from VWU, but you've got to think it's too little too late. There's already 1 minute remaining with a 5-goal difference.
I mean, looking at these rank differences, I would look to their captain, who's their SSL player. Virginia needs to look to Braided Axe to do a bit more for them. I mean, he's already gotten 4 saves, but he's gotten no goals in this one. Maybe they just, use the time between the games, because I don't know if there's a way they can come back in this. It's going to be very difficult with 29 seconds left.
It will indeed. What we're looking for in this last 30 seconds is, can we get 1 shot registered from Virginia? Throughout this entire game, they've had 0, and they're going to concede another goal here. Tay, from their own side of the field, lays into it for a 6th goal.
That's so painful. Bailey there just really ends up passing it, and it ends up essentially being a pass to your opponent who ends up scoring. But 14 seconds, maybe we can all go to Brazil for a little bit. I'm looking to see at least a dignity goal come in, though, for this Concord squad. For Virginia, sorry. But time's ticking out, and Tay's looking to put another on.
There it is. There it is, the end of the game. We're going to even out the series line here, folks, in this best of 7, meaning 4 wins ends the match. Each team now with 1. I want to ask you a question, though, Rocket Star. I mean, how often is it that you see not only a win, which is a sweep, right? I mean, they don't allow any goals from their opponents, but no shots as well. That was a full 10 shots registered from CU, but nothing from VWU.
Yeah, again, 2 different squads we just watched. Concord really flipped the switch of what we saw Virginia doing in the first game and did it here in the second game and found more success in it because their confidence really exploded. And anytime a team has confidence, it's very dangerous in Rocket League, and even more so when there's no challenges going on, when there's no demos. And, they really just came out and showed what they can do on this pitch. And you got to give it to Concord. They turned it around quick.
They really did. I also feel like it was off the back of Smiley, because we saw 2 goals from every single player. But how did it start? How did they get that first goal, which often in a series or in a game can be the toughest one to grab? And that was Smiley for the first 2. So I'm really impressed by the torch-taking effort to lead the way and light the way for the team to find success in this series. Got a leader out there in Smiley, but we've got a great group here for Concord University of Sura and Tay as well. We'll see how this unit tries to continue their momentum in game number 3.
Definitely was an Olympic turnaround. The way these teams really just hustled on every touch. The accuracy, looking for their teammates that were more on point. Looking to see if that will continue here in game 2. Like to see the boost grabs coming from Smiley. Tay looking for the setup, the whiff, because they're low on boost, but their SSL Braided Axe saves the day there. You still see Jalen trying to push this out of his half, and they are being a nuisance. Concord really looking sharp still, and they're making really great decisions.
Gotta be impressed by the way they're keeping this ball moving around. That said, it goes across the width of the field there. And Bailey and Braided are both there to pick it up. Here comes Jalen on that rotation, but has to back off of the play. Braided Axe once again getting up to the game. There it is from Tay, turning it around. Braided Axe, I mean, nearly 500 points where their teammates had under 200, I think both combined. So yes, more from Braided Axe, definitely putting it out there on the field, but feels like it's got to be that team effort if we're going to see them lead again.
Definitely needs to be, but they got to stop giving this ball away. People need to start controlling the ball and start going for mechanical plays, even if it's just a dribble, something simple, because otherwise we're going to continue to see an Atari game happen. But maybe Smiley and Sura change it here, and it's just gonna end up being a win.
Well, Jalen's trying to control the ball, like you said, but on zero boost, it can be so difficult.
Oh!
Bailey, there's a bat towards the net. Tay on the wraparound. Can't get there in time. And VWU score for the first time in nearly 7 game minutes.
Gosh, like you said earlier, that torch being lit. Somebody putting that first one on, lighting the flame in the team, giving you that ignition as a team to start your engines and keep things going. Let's see if we can continue to see it out here on this pitch in Concord.
It's been a very momentum-based game here where the winner of each game just starts running away with it pretty quickly. See if it continues here. VWU at game number 3 open the scoring line with their first goal. Jay Lindo gets dunked on this play, and Sura is going to steal this goal.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you, if we don't see Braided Axe back, it ends up being a goal for Concord. And Virginia has been relying on Braided Axe to get all their saves. I think they need to change their game plan, because it really has been them giving a lot of space to their opponents and really hurt them that last game.
You're so right about that. Braided Axe 4 for all of the team's 4 saves in the last game. Just cannot rely on one player to do that, especially when Braided Axe could be doing it all on attack. Speaking of attack, Bailey from downtown all the way down the other end, and Braided Axe pulling the ball to the goal line once again. But the response is there from Concord University, as this game is all tied up here with 2 minutes remaining.
2 minutes remaining, and you know, while we're looking at this game and taking a moment to look kind of closer to things, I will tell you, for Virginia Wesleyan, it's actually interesting. Braided Axe actually started the George Mason University Rocket League team and helped them establish their esports program. So I wonder if he's really the one bringing all the passion and the fire of kind of organization and team play and practice. So maybe he's been coaching his team. I mean, especially when you're much higher than your teammates. So maybe that's why he's been doing all of their saves, and now starting a little bit more of a goal run for his squad.
Yeah, I want to look at this goal once more because it's a bit awkward here. Tay sees the shot coming in there from Jalen and says, wow, you know, I need to get this out of here or else it's going to be an automatic goal. Tried their best there. Braided Axe will be credited with the goal instead, as it goes right in their net. As you said, Braided Axe may indeed be that vibe manager as they're pulling the passion in for their team. The passion, the goals. We'll see if it's enough with 1 minute left and Concord needing to score this next.
Do they go up all the space? A little bit more challenging going down, though. Bailey in the face. Braided Axe is there, and the ball was centered. I cannot believe Bailey didn't turn and try to score that. I'm just lost on what happened there, but maybe we were trying to draw out the opponents and run back the center, and there it is. Bailey is center. Tay with the instant save.
Gets that save, and then the clear, and they're still on this aerial try. Flip reset there. Shot available, but Bailey holds the line. Bailey as well had to dodge a demolition coming in. So credit due to the defender there, and Bailey is still working it off the backboard.
These 50s are spicier than cayenne to the face. I swear to God, it's lovely to see players really pay attention to how they're taking them, but it is Smiley looking on top there when it comes to decisions on how to get that save.
Well, we may have gotten our even game here. Can we get it to be more even? Pull it to overtime. Certainly Concord need to hold the line and get the ball back up in the air. Oh, that's not going to happen. VWU turn this series right back on its head in their favored fashion with a 2-1 goal lead.
I just cannot believe we did not see that last-minute goal happen. I can't believe we didn't go into overtime. How didn't we? It was right on the line. Rocket League, you know, it can be like this or that, right? You think the ball is going in, and then all of a sudden it's like, the ball's half gray, and having that tone where you're like, you know, it would have been in if you had like half a second more. But it ends up being a rejection there for Concord, and this ends up being back in favor of Virginia. So curious to see how like the layout of the series is going. So does this now mean that Concord is going to come back in the next game? What do you predict, Pyro?
I will say if these teams are the lines on a graph here, the lines are starting to get much closer now. I think we're at a point of this series where we've really reached equilibrium, right? We're not seeing the team that lost post 0 shots on net. We're starting to see a bit more control on the attack, but as well on the defense. I mean, you saw Bailey at the end of that game basically securing the entire win for the team on the saves that we witnessed on the 1v2, on the great aerial double tap on the backboard, on their own backboard. It was magnificent. So the offense and the defense to me is leveling up in a way that is going to create even better Rocket League here as we reach game number 4. VWU with that series lead.
50s again coming out strong here. And Jalen, who really, I liked how he was taking his 50s before, kind of held down his squad in terms of making sure that the ball didn't end up in the opponent's hands. And we see the awkward center there, though, coming from Braided Axe. The attack's coming on strong for almost this past 30 seconds. Maybe, though, we see an open net. Concord looking for a double. It ends up being the clear.
Hey, what an effort. I mean, recently we've seen the defense step up in the same way that we've seen from Bailey, but Tay so close on that double tap effort. Has to sort of peel off the play here because they're out of boost, but that's not the case for Sura. Full boost, but bumped into their own teammate. Calamity here for Concord University as they still try to regain on the possession. Shots being fired to the backboard. Smiley has it taken care of. Sora for the next effort. And that's countered to the corner. Braided Axe, final defender on the line, able to poke it up high and earn some time for their team on defense.
They're doing a great job there, but it's Concord who needs to make sure that their second man is pushed up closer to the net. They're not close to mid, they're further back, and it's really holding back their team because everybody's just taking their shot at offense and then moving out of the play. You have no one there for these passes, and it's leaving their opponent, Virginia, just with these beautiful moments because the net is kind of open if you think about it. Usually you have somebody on backboard. Where was the backboard player there?
No backboard player, just one on the defensive line. And you know what? That's more difficult for Sura because they had to respond to the potential double tap off the corner as well, right? That was just missed for the pass over to Braided Axe. And yeah, when you have to deal with either shot coming in, it can be really hard to hold the line. Speaking of hold the line, Jalen! Oh my goodness, they are bailed out with the shot off the post. However, Tay, a follow-up. No, that's taken away too.
God, I cannot keep playing with my emotions like this. I'm literally sweating for them as we're speaking, and the clear ends up yet again being a pass. Anytime you're on defense, it is very hard to clear away from your opponent if you are last back. And we literally just seen this similar kind of play happen on the side of Concord University. And Pyro J, if you had to give some advice to these teams, what would you tell them to do on defense to help with these kind of situations?
You know what? It's so difficult to advise even Braided Axe there because they're not only trying as the last person back to get a ball to a safer territory and not clear it into a shot taker. They're just trying to save the ball. I mean, that was like a nearly 2v1 pressure all amounting on them. Nearly impossible to save that play. Now wrap it back around as Braided Axe trying to get some revenge, and it is an electric pass directly to Bailey.
Yeah, you got to redeem yourself a little bit, right? Come back a little bit stronger after just getting scored on. Put that pressure back on. Keep the opponents knowing that they're not winning, not taking this one away from you. And we see Virginia trying to get this center. I like the pressure there in the corner. These 50 wins are actually going seriously crazy, but I've talked about it before. Second man was nowhere to be found, and Braided Axe had the most beautiful center and all the time in the world for somebody to score that, but again, nobody was there.
Yeah, fully absent on that play indeed was the second player, and You wonder who was supposed to take that role. Jalen was all the way back on the other side of the court on 0 boost, so it could have come down to a boost management issue. And for players out here, you got to make sure your pathing on the stage is solid. You don't always have to pick up that container. It can just be those pads that you could turn right back into the rotation. But speaking of that rotation, Sura in the perfect position to lay this up off the ceiling. Tay for a shot. The goalie demoed, but that shot was never on target to begin with.
I do like this aggression, though. Both teams, you can feel it. They want the dubs, and people are really getting that pressure going. And the demos, the physicality showing us that they wanted more bumps in the corner. And the ball drops to second man. Bailey is there, and we see a third goal come for Virginia.
What an incredible shot. You know, some players are like, feed me the rock, I'll make it happen. And Bailey, if it wasn't top corner, that was getting contested by the first or the second defender. Laser of a goal to the top corner.
Accuracy on that definitely made me think of, like, wow. Somebody has been playing some Coco workshop maps. And Jalen, again, we talked about him earlier. That's the IRL speedy man himself, putting a shot on with that pass from Braided Axe. And Axe's touches are just, I mean, this is how we know he's SSL, right?
Exactly. They're magnificent, and you can tell. You asked for intent earlier, right? Rocket Star is coming to the ball with an idea in mind, and you can see that from Braided Axe. There's no doubt about it. Hey, I'm gonna get this double tap. I'm gonna put it in front of the net for my teammates. Speaking of teammates, oh, the team was working fantastically there from Concord University. Still surviving on this play was Braided Axe, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, that was a difficult moment. As you said earlier, whenever you're trying to clear the ball, it can be very difficult to not only clear it, but then clear it away from an opponent, especially when you had everybody from Concord waiting for that. But you got to give it to Concord. They're looking like cheddar right now. They're sharp. They're looking for a way to come back in this. They got 37 seconds. They can still do it. They got to make sure their positioning is on point, and they got to take advantage, and they got to take advantage fast.
There's totally that chance unless the shot goes in right off the post. It's still a chance for Concord because that ball didn't go in. Long clear from Smiley is going to be met by a shot. Bounces off the ground and up to the ceiling. Bailey's denied by Sura. Pass at the backboard. Tay's there for the shot, but it goes blocked. Sura wants to keep this offensive rotation in. Did a great job positioning near the ball, but just no boost to maneuver it towards the net. As the final seconds go down, Concord University, they just can't string together that sequence of goals for the comeback, and it's VWU with their third win.
Virginia, you gotta get in their face. I mean, we just have seen it over and over. Anytime the traction is started on Virginia's side, it's always coming from Braided Axe. And he did exactly kind of the opposite of what you told him. You told him to become an offensive player because we've seen him just taking all that pressure and getting all the saves. But instead, he decided, I'm going to split myself. I'm going to go ahead and keep doing defense. He got 3 of their 5 saves coming from Braided Axe. And he also got one of their goals that started to get them lit up. And he centered some crazy goals for them.
Yeah, we said, Braided Axe, you can't do it all, so don't. And Braided Axe said, yeah, I can. And so that's what we saw. A nearly 100% goal participation there with 2 assists and 1 goal. And still 3/5 of the saves from that team. So fantastic job. And what VW2 is doing incredibly as well is putting Concord University in these tough situations, right? How many times do we see that those defenders have to survive off 2v1 efforts and try to make the save? Yeah, Braided Axe could make some saves as well, but count the numbers on the scoreboard, 4-2. VWU is simply doing it more and at a better rate against their opponents. So Rockstar, that puts them to 3 wins. 1 more needed for this round 6 matchup in the Elite Division 2 for ECAC. Match point. Here we go.
I'm nervous for both teams, but I do want to see Concord have the ability to come back in this. If they're going to do it, though, they have to, again, do what we said that it needed to be done for Virginia. Go for it intent. they're throwing the ball away so much. Virginia is always contemplating, like, they know what's happening. So they're there for the passes and literally just turn around any kind of pressure back on the Concord.
Talk about pressure. Bailey on that demolition. Off of the pass from Jalen. Jalen, high touch there off the corner. That was really difficult for Bailey. String together a couple touches, but still manages to do it. And it's a good tee up for Braided Axe as well. BWU, they have certainly learned how and when to pounce.
Definitely. And Bailey, give him some credit as well. He's definitely been leaning a little bit on Braided Axe on the offensive side with these passes coming in. And before the games, Bailey actually told me that he doesn't have anything to say. He's uninteresting and doesn't have anything to add about himself. But he's clearly a playmaker with these passes and with these setups for his squad.
Bailey said, I'll tell you everything on the field. How does that sound? I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what we're seeing. Jalen, though. Oh, close to the pass on the Braided Axe. There it is, right in front of the net again. Oh. Bailey, though, still, of course, rotating into that attack. Jalen says it's not dead yet. Pass there across the field. Braided Axe flipping towards it. Does get a 50 back up the wall, and you can tell VWU, they do not want to let this possession die. Yet there it is.
I have been biting my fingernails on some of these moments. Like Braided Axe, that should have been a goal onto his team's net. I cannot believe he saved that. The timing was impeccable. And everything going towards Concord's net. I cannot believe they've got so many saves as well. I mean, both teams are so laser focused right now. You can hear a pen drop. That's how focused they are.
Gotta make sure every touch is as precise as they're attempting to make it. See that from Sura. Not a lot of boost, but trying to conjure as much power on it as they can. Tay, you're one of the last defenders here. You've got to rise to the occasion. Get on the goal line, make a save. They're there on the backboard to bat this away. And stretching this ball to the distance. Can't get to a teammate, so Bailey, it's nearly a pancake onto the sidewall, as each and every touch is as unique as the next.
And this is game point, and we're halfway through this one. Game 6 is closing out quick. Can we see any kind of answer happen for Concord? We talked a lot about Sura and Tay, and they've been kind of quiet. Everything they've done has been instantly shut down by Braided Axe. He is literally extending himself so far in this game, and it's really been helping his team.
Well, maybe you take them out of the play then, Jalen. Instead, making those demos count. Gets one for the team. There's Bailey now onto Sura. And so fireworks being sprung out here with these explosions of the demos. Keeping things really scary for both teams. Bailey leaves this for Braided Axe. There's an aerial play that could make into something. Jalen instead picks this up off the sidewall. Tay contests. And with these quick challenges, you can tell Concord University, they have these fiery feet right now to get to the ball as quickly as they can.
All these explosions on the pitch got me thinking about Looney Tunes and got me thinking about the Road Runner and Wile E. Coyote. And it definitely can see who it is on the pitch playing both of those roles. And there it is, Jalen, yet again. Wile E. Coyote himself throwing TNT all over this pitch.
Yeah, watch where you step here. Watch where you shoot. Watch where you try to save. Bailey. Unbelievable stretch to the ball. Put the cape on that player. That's your superhero.
This has got to be exhausting for Concord. And all of their shots that they've thrown at the net, just now, there it is yet again. Bailey being the bumper there, keeping Concord away from scoring. This is so painful to watch. Concord trying everything and Virginia just swatting it away, just like Dikembe Mutombo does any shot that I would ever have at his net.
You gotta think, how many more saves does this team have left? How many more saves does Bailey have that left? That was another, oh no, it's a save as well as an extermination from Bailey. I cannot believe the plays coming out from this player right now, and it's still just a 1-point game, 20 seconds for Concord to score.
Oh my gosh, this is, again, this is the part where my heart races. We hit the roller coaster of emotions, and I'm just waiting for Concord to turn it around. Just one goal. Get yourself into overtime. Get out of regulation while you still can so that you might have a chance at winning this. But time is ticking away. The ball has dropped. Virginia has won the series.
There you go. Virginia Wesleyan University take this series in 5, and players go celebrate. That's your first win of this division, of this elite division for ECAC. Finally, you got it. And it's a fantastic win from you as well. Just the highlight player of Braided Axe really seemed to lead the way throughout the series. But Rocket Star, talk to us a little more about Bailey. I mean, talk about capping off that performance with an exclamation point.
Definitely did. I mean, all of what was happening on this pitch, never thought we would have ever seen so many exterminations going down. I'm just sitting here like, wow, this is really the tactic right now. I mean, every player on this pitch really stepped it up even further than anywhere we had seen them in any of the previous games. Players were, you could see it when you were switching through the cams. They were taking just a second longer to make sure that their touches were more accurate, and they were taking a second longer just to make sure, hey, is my teammate there, or is it an opponent's boost that I'm hearing right now? So again, crazy game that we just saw there for the last one between these two. But I'm just flabbergasted for Concord, all those efforts in the end, and still not able to take it away.
Feels like they're going to have nightmares later, right? About the shooting again and again and again at the net, but the ball just impossibly not going in. And again, we do credit VWU for those incredible saves. Jalen, Bailey, Braided Axe, congratulations on your win. And for Concord University, we still hope to see more of you. You know, the season's not quite over. From what I know, y'all still got one more match to go. So good luck. Go make it count. We're rooting for you. Folks, we may have an interview coming up. That is possible, so definitely stick around. I'll tell you even more reason to stick around in case Rocket Star and I do not return with an interview. At the top of the hour, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we got Staten Island versus Roger Williams in an Overwatch matchup. So that's coming up soon as well, casted by TTL and Twin Salty. Folks, either way, though, we'll see you soon after this break. competition where we just witnessed Virginia Wesleyan University 4-1 Concord Esports Gray. It was a fantastic match, and joining us here is going to be Braided Axe from the team. Speaking with us here, Braided Axe, we don't have your cam, but that's okay. We got your energy. We've got your voice, and we'll take that. I want to ask you very quickly, how you doing? How's the win feel? Because it's the first win, if I'm right, for you guys for this season. It's got to feel good.
Oh my God, it's a freaking sigh of relief, man. We've been playing basically all SSLs up until now, and they've just been kicking our you know what.
Oh,
I think we've only won. That was the first series we won, but I think we've only won maybe 2-3 games out of like the rest of the series we played so
I think
far.
it was 2 from the beginning of the season. You guys got the couple games, but yeah, having that sigh of relief, having that win is huge. Rockstar, what do you have here for Braided Axe?
I just wanted to know what fueled you in between these games. So as a former player myself, or competitive player occasionally, right? I look at what people do between the 60 seconds they have. Some coaches will tell you, don't tell your team to change anything, right? Leave that up to the coach. But it was clear something happened for y'all in between some of these games. Like you had some kind of pep talk, or maybe you just said to yourself, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna go do the damn thing. Like what had happened to your team throughout this series that helped you guys come back on top and come back strong and stay in charge of things?
Well, for some reason, we always start out really strong game one, regardless of who we play. Whether that's them underestimating us or us just, generally being strong game one. You saw that as well. And then game two, same as every other series we ever played, we can't say that word. We lay a goose egg. We lay a goose egg in game two, as you saw in the 06. Bailey had a really bad game, only had 32 points. I think he got demoed at least 8 times and bumped pretty much the entire game. It was just a rough time all around, some whiffs and everything. After that game was really the turning point where I said, all right, guys, I got 3 main points for you. Stop whiffing. Stop hitting it to them. And just don't get demoed. Simple as that.
Those are hard. Those are a hard 3, though. How are you going to avoid demos? I mean, that's a rough thing.
As our coach always says, just effing score. So
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
What more do you need? And you know what, Rockstar, you were mentioning exactly that. There was a lot of transfers of possession from VWU, giving away the ball a lot. So we definitely noticed some of those changes. Braided Axe, you were really punching the numbers. Okay, you had 4 saves at one point when your team got not only outscored 6-0 but outshot 10-0. So huge turning point for you guys. But I want to hear more about Bailey. You mentioned the tough game they had earlier on in the series, and you seem to really be doing a lot of defense. But later on, especially during the end of that last game, Bailey was making these incredible saves, really keeping Concord University somehow from scoring. What are the comms like in those moments? Is this common for Bailey to just like rise up and take leadership on the defensive role? What was going on during that time?
Oh, it's very common for him to rise up to the challenge. He always tends to play well. He'll occasionally have that really low valley, but he always comes back strong. He is my main number 2 guy I look for whenever we're passing, shooting, defending, everything like that. And Jalen's our solid third. He's a very good rotational piece. He fits in nice and well with us, and I'm really happy to have him. But Bailey really can kick it on when he's in the groove.
For sure.
We definitely saw a lot of Jalen's speediness on that pitch. And I was like, if you're a track star, you got to be a track star in the game too. So I was looking for him to do some wave dashes and wall dashes. But I didn't see them. But I was like, I'm sure in time he's got this. But your team really was looking solid at so many points where, especially at the end, Concord tried left and right, couldn't even get anything in. You guys were blocking, as I literally said, as like Dikembe Mutombo, known from the Rockets, the Houston Rockets, for just blocking everything. How did you guys do that? Were your comms super sharp? Was your boost meter really strong? What was helping y'all through that?
Definitely having boost helps a lot. Like you saw in game 2, we were boost starved most of the time, which led to a lot of those goals. I'm not going to say all of them because that's not true, but having boost, just knowing each other rotationally, what we expect of each other. To be honest, the comms weren't as strong as they usually were today. It was more so going off fives and just play of the game kind of thing. But yeah, it's just knowing each other rotationally.
Sometimes that's what it comes down to, right? And he
Yeah.
definitely did prove the way at the end of the series. Brady Dax, thank you so much for spending this time with us, not only on the pitch, but here in the interview booth as well. I want to give you some time here to do any shout outs. And as well, I'm curious, what's the future looking like for Virginia Wesleyan University and your guys' esport teams? You told me there's a B team already playing right now in the background. I know you guys still have another week left in this season, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about that too.
Dude, we've already gotten past the meat of everything we've done. We hosted a collegiate Rocket League event here back in February. We had everywhere from George Mason to Lubbock Christian. We had UCF come.
Nice.
Lubbock Christian ended up winning the whole thing, but it was a really good time. This was a second year of doing it. We're expected to grow even more next semester, hopefully. Our Rocket League teams are doing great. Our B team is on a roll in ECAC. And shoot, we're even adding another esports and next
Ooh.
semester, Valorant.
Let's
Oh,
go.
nice.
That's my second favorite. Good choice. Awesome. Any other shout out, Brady Dax, before we let you go?
Shout out my coach, not a duck, Brandon. He's not here today. He's up and home, but shout out to him. He helps us out a lot, and shout out to my boys Bailey and Jalen.
Beautiful.
I do have one more question
Yeah.
for him, just real quick. I remember you mentioned, Brady Dex, that you started George Mason's esports program. Did you happen to start Virginia Wesleyans?
No, Virginia Wesleyans, I think actually started around the same time where I was helping out George Mason start theirs. So Brandon, our coach, actually was the very first generation of the esports. He helped with the very beginning of it.
Very cool. 360 moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Awesome. Well, thanks for getting that in there, Rocket Star. It's a really cool tidbit of information. And Brayax, thank you again. Congratulations on your win today. You finally got over that hurdle. Go celebrate, guys. Enjoy that amongst each other. And hopefully we see you again sometime soon.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Cheers. Well, folks, that's it from Rocket Star and I. Rocket Star, any final comments, final thoughts from the interview, the match, anything before we let go and move on to some more esports action here?
I just wanted to give a quick thank you to our amazing producer in the booth, Colton. Thank you for such a great production, as well as to my co-caster / AKA the VIP MVP himself, Pyro J. Always a pleasure, and this was our first cast together, so he's a legend, and you can hear it in his casting.
You know what? If this is a Rocket League game and someone had to choose the MVP, I see our scores tied right there, like 875. We both just knocked it out of the park. So thank you, Rocket Star, for making this event so exciting and so thrilling as well. And thank you, the watcher, for tuning in today for our ECAC action. We've got more coming up, as I said earlier, with the Overwatch match. Staten Island versus Roger Williams, taken to you by TTL and Twin Salty. Folks, it's been myself, Pyro J, Rocket Star, and of course, Colton on the background. We'll see you next time.
ECAC Overwatch returns with yet another best of 5 matchup. It's first of 3 between Roger Williams and the College of Staten Island. I'm Time Delight. Joined alongside me, as is stock standard in the Overwatch scene, Jesse. I gotta say, so happy to be casting Overwatch again. It's only been since like Friday, but in the college scene, it's been forever and a day. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, Twin Delight Duo is back in collegiate Overwatch.
I got that card. It's in my dorm.
It took a while, but hey, no, excited for tonight. We got a game that has a lot of playoff implications.
Yeah, it's College of Staten Island coming into this one. They have had a little bit of a rocky road coming into this game. They haven't had the cleanest of starts, a loss to FIU, but 3-1, nothing to scoff at by any means. And with a slight reschedule, they will have only 1 game remaining, if I believe I read my schedule.
Yeah,
correctly.
they have 1 game left against Illinois Wesleyan next week.
Yeah, that will not be an easy game by any means. They placed a top 4, I believe, at a more recent LAN in the Midwest. On the other side, Roger Williams, they look pretty good, but again, some difficulties. They too lost to FIU, but they lost to Illinois Wesleyan as well. So RWU, this is a game they cannot afford to lose, where on the other side of things, CSI can, I'd say, lose this one and still have a chance to bring themselves back down the line.
Yeah, because this is also RWU's last game. Like, because of the way things turned out, they have a bye week, and then they were supposed to play Albany, but got a forfeit win there already due to Albany dropping out. So this is their last shot, and it is only top 4 from the group that make it. These two teams are currently tied for second at 3 wins. And obviously for RWU, you need to win this. If you don't win this, you're basically praying that other games fall your way. And it's never a fun experience having just to wait for 2 weeks to know your fate.
It's always, you want to be able to control your fate versus not being able to control your fate. I actually saw this more recently. Did you see the RLCS drama in Sub-Saharan Africa?
Yes.
The team they tried to control their fate by sniping the team they needed to beat in the quarterfinals. They intentionally lost 2 Swiss games. You can't do that because that's not how seeding works out of playoffs or out of regular season. But honestly, I thought it was hilarious. They did get disqualified, though. It was the correct decision if you didn't see the delay on that one. Have to say, though, this one a little less implicative, if that's a word, towards playoffs. You said it's tied for second seed. They are probably both going to make it at the end of the day, but probably doesn't cut it, especially when you still have Illinois Wesleyan coming up and you have FIU. Those are your notable top 4s of right now, but a 5th could always come in as a wild card.
You could always see, UDEL Academy is sitting right there. They're waiting for this game. They're rooting for CSI tonight. But as we load into Lijiang Tower, we will see what these teams want to cook up. It's a meta right now that you're going to run a lot of things, right? You're going to run dive. You can run the JQ rush. Ram rush has kind of taken a small backseat, but it's still decent. So we saw CSI just a few weeks ago in ECC. They ran all 3. They ran the Ram rush, they ran JQ, and they were able to run the dive over on Watchpoint. So beginning here on Lijiang, you're going to see mainly rush. We can maybe see some dive as well when we get over to Night Market.
Now, notably enough, in Map 1, the home team picks in the ECAC, the home team this week was indeed the College of Staten Island. We'll refer to them as CSI for most of the broadcast. Whereas you have to say Roger Williams need to come out swinging. It is loser picks. It is map type restricted for loser selection, but it is not map overall restricted. So you can, as we go into hybrid, for instance, pick over onto a Blizzard World or something similar. And you were talking about early anything. Cammy right now is hovering a Reinhardt.
I respect it. This is one of the only points it can work, especially with the Mei. You just hold on that choke, but both teams are going to teleport in. Who's going to get there first? It's actually, no, never mind. RWU will TP forward when Staten Island TP's in.
Yeah, they will just TP straight onto the point. It is kind of a requirement to run that Symmetra if you want to bring in a Reinhardt. Very rarely will you see one without the other, at least the Reinhardt. But Air already the opening pick, make it 2 for Cartoon Blaze. And it is everybody holding W. Absolutely no breaks on this freight train of an attack. Roger Williams will cap first.
That is a crucial pick there from Air. They find Noob early. And there goes your lamp. There goes your main source of healing. CSI cannot hold that angle without their Baptiste alive. They will stick onto the Symmetra for now, and they may try and teleport again, but RWU, they're just waiting for them to do it.
Big TP, it seems, and it seems to work as well, but nothing that ends up giving them the point. They do isolate air and completely cut them off. The air under their wings sends them soaring to the ground in very quick fashion, at least through it in this case. But Cammy needs to be very patient, so too does Bioactive, who gets a little overzealous on that Symmetra. Very limited health pools ends up costing them, and just a W key for the Lucio of Harper. She's probably out of position there, but will backtrack and will survive more than happily, and Ripser can't say the same. They're gone, so too is the Lamp, and everybody else will fall like dominoes being toppled as Roger Williams continue their hold.
When you look at these comps, you would think it's Staten Island's that is very hard to push into on this point. But even with the 5v4, Roger Williams was able to hold down that wall very consistently. Staten Island had no way to get in, even though they got the pick onto air, and now they're sitting in a position where they need to win this fight.
It's a basic requisite. They do end up finding that Blizzard and isolating out Overclock, but even while frozen, they can't even capitalize off of it based on the sound barrier, and Overclocked will go unfreeze, thaw themselves, and start cooking on their own. Roger Williams just hold once more.
They need to get off this ride.
What?
What?
It evidently it doesn't say he got booped.
Huh? I don't know if we can get a replay on that, but that gives Staten Island an advantage here. They could capitalize.
Well, not with the Death Blossom, though. Sound Barrier will help, so they do end up finding damage and then the subsequent kill. Amplification Matrix, nothing consequential. They will take out Overclocked anyway, as they sat in the middle of it for some unknown reason. And it does seem like Staten Island will indeed cap back. However, took a little bit longer than they'd like.
Yeah, well, when you see the Cassidy just kind of jump off using all, it's like, oh, we're just going to push it on this. And honestly, you take up the Death Blossom as well from Cartoon Blaze, get that away, but the only thing, you did use everything. And the only thing you may have soon is a Blizzard from Chongyun, but even like trying to get back into this point, you may not have all 5.
Wait, they used Annihilation in that fight too. That could,
yeah.
This point, they do still have all 5, luckily enough. And the Moira safe to move around, but now will get through, but that Reaper scene, they'll live. Can't say the same for Air or Harper. Great usage of the mobility for the Lucio. Everybody jumps in very coordinatedly at that, and the Moira can't even get out. She is the Fade, can't even use it successfully. Cartoon Blaze will give themselves up. Now 40% for Staten Island as they pick up a team kill.
Beautiful team kill there for Staten Island. This is the real strength of this comp. Even without the Symmetra, the Mei walls at this choke are the real powerhouse, especially with no cleanse, no immortality field on the other side. If someone is isolated, they're more than likely going to fall, and the Blizzard is now cooked back up.
Blizzard, it didn't work last time. Yes, it froze Overclock, but they weren't able to capitalize off of it. Here comes everything, it seems, but the throw-in, somehow Air catches out Cammy while trying to take advantage of the slam, and it just is not successful for Staten Island. They did have a couple ults, but 2 of them couldn't even get off, and the one that was unsuccessful. The Earth Shatter inconsequential to the overall outcome, and the swap to the Doomfist will not get there in time. Staten Island, so close, yet so far. Night Market goes to Roger Williams.
Took a little bit of time and maybe a few mistakes, but Roger Williams able to get that first round. And we're going to take a look back at the... What happened to Air here? I'm like so confused.
Look at the top of your screen.
Top of the screen.
Lucio's in spawn doors. I think he just rolled off.
He just rolled off. Yeah, he rolled off on accident. That is... watch where you're looking, kids. That's where you watch where you're going so you don't fall off the face of a building, you know? Good advice for everybody. But now, going over to Control Center, Staten Island will shift to the Ramacha that we've seen in the past from them. They pull out the Bastion as well.
I mean, they thought they were taking on a Ram. They are. And they're now bringing a Ram of their own. Makes things a little bit easier, so the jump in will indeed be there. But how successful does the Bastion end up being? Maybe taking down the shield, hopefully just completely taking care of the block, but I don't know how successful it's going to be. Great grenade, doesn't find lethal damage. Even better, hindering grenade, forces Bioactive and forces out that immortality field, which basically just delays the inevitable, it seems. Staten Island force back, but they don't die at all.
Yeah, nobody falls. They're just going to try and get their cooldowns back, and that will be the pick that'll send them in.
They will go for it, but how much do they find after that first? Remember, Air died in the first fight very early on in Night Market, was able to come back in time. Very good delaying from Roger Williams. They've already capped, and they followed up with a kill on towards Bioactive. Yes, the cap has gone back to CSI, but by no means will they be able to easily sleuth out this defensive hold. Cammy just walking in. Nemesis form popped, but up against a Reaper, by no means is it easy to survive through this. They're seemingly surrounded on every single side, but they'll end up falling. Air swaps to the Junkrat and finds a kill, but Overclock pops the Nemesis form inside the Annihilation and will die in the process. They've done very little with their ultimate, and they still have support from the Bastion. At this point, the Lucio isolated. They'll fall. Yeah, that's not the end of the world. The Moira on the point, helping out Harper on the Lucio, and Roger Williams will indeed get the cap through. What is going on?
That was like team deathmatch on steroids. Everybody is battling near server room. Everybody gets so split, it just turns into a bunch of 1v1s, like the 1v1 code, custom game mode. But now Air is sending in nades still from server, and B is used early from Rip SR.
Coalescence picked up. No Ajax for Harper. They were low, but nothing going to kill them there. With the Amplification Matrix through, though, and the Annihilation on top of it, that is just a lethal combination to the health bars of Roger Williams. Yeah, they'll find, what, 1 kill? Ripser will fall, and that's about it. Good delay, though, from Air. Nothing to change the fight direction.
Yeah, they at least get up to 46%, which is honestly pretty nice for Roger Williams, and I would say a 2-minute span that was very sloppy on both sides. Cartoon Blaze is still behind. They almost have that Death Blossom online, but the Blizz comes out first.
Oh, the Blizz is going to be successful. How much does the Riptire find? No, very little. Cammy was not only inside of the Immortality field, but they had the power block available to them as well. Here comes Cartoon Blaze, the Death Blossom into the back line. It finds 2 and damage onto 2 more. Everybody there. Janitor will find the cleanup on Isle Point, and they'll find the team kill as well. Just a second or two to later.
Yeah, just a few seconds later to make sure that stagger is going a little bit, but the flank works out, especially with that Blizzard. I don't mind the idea. It was just everybody from Roger Williams was able to get away in time, but now Air got to make sure they live.
What? Completely putting themselves out of position. Cammy finds 3. Help from the Bastion. Yeah, certainly going to take that 100 DPS, if not more, regardless of whether you hit a head or not. And everybody just dies. What happened to Roger Williams? They found, what, 30% and just collapsed?
What happened to Roger Rabbit? You know, I don't... What happened here? Like, everybody is just dying left and right whenever they're on the defense, and it seems like they want to hold this choke, but neither team is able to, as the other side is able to break through each time. Window is available, though, for Noob. They just got to see where Roger Williams is coming from, but somebody was on the flank.
Well, the Coalescence just got walled off. That becomes a problem. Artillery formation does some damage, but in jumps Bioactive, wasting no time getting in, and they'll snipe down Harper, hopping behind their Amplification Matrix. Say goodbye to your Ramatra. Nice, they'll be dispatched of. That is a melting if I've ever seen one, and nobody's going to be able to get to the point in time. They don't even enable overtime at that. Staten Island make a statement on Control Center and will send us to point 3.
We will go over to Gardens for the final round, and honestly, this is where we could see dive if teams want to. If not, we may see more of a Sim TP going in. We could see a Bastion look, but a nice stabilization there from Staten Island after a few, I would say, rough defenses from both teams, admittedly, on that point. It just seemed like neither team could hold on to it. Staten Island will tease that look, very much a look we've seen from OWCS Korea as of late, with the Doomfist dive, Echo Tracer. The Mercy's a little bit of an interesting pick. They will, well, never mind. They won't do anything. They'll go back to the Lucio. This is pure OWCS Korea meta right now, and it's ridiculously powerful if you play it right. That is the big if. You got to make sure you find your target initially, and it'll be on overclock to peel for their backline.
So Cartoon Blaze will swap on to the Tracer. They did swap for a second, but decided to go back. Harper went to 1 HP, but somehow Chong Yun is the first one to fall. And Overclocked has made the very late swap onto the Diva before the spawn doors open. So there is, again, a contrast in tank. Nice snipe down here for Air. They're trying to get down Cartoon. Oh no, it's Cammy to fall instead, and Bioactive will do the same. Noob, a nice snipe with a kunai knife. At least something there. Overclocked is not by any means on high HP, and they're not safe either, but they do have help from their Moira. And they've got some rocket boosters to go hunting for an Echo. Will they find a kill? That doesn't seem like it.
They almost lost their life because of the finishing beam, but at least Cartoon Blaze is able to get there late on, and they did a great job already. Try to make sure, hey, you peel for your backline. This Doomfist could be an issue. As Changyu TP's over, well, almost gets cartoon.
What a recall. What a recall. Here comes that focusing beam again, but Air instead wins the Echo duel once more. They've been very good at trying to snipe down their counterpart, but Ripser, there alongside Noob, will find one of their own. Harper walking in, they're forced back. Everybody's just holding W, it seems. We were talking about that deathmatch on steroids. It doesn't seem to have stopped, as Overclocked is still very low. Coalescence will keep them up and in the fight, but that has to be used in the middle of so much chaos, so it doesn't seem to have a concerted target. It'll now go sniping again for an Echo. Won't be able to find the kill, and the Diva will be demeched, basically losing a tank at that juncture, but you can't duplicate them while they're out of mech, and it doesn't work. Overclocked finds 2? What?
Hey, they were able to get 2 out of mech. They stay alive, and they should be able to get this mech back by the time this fight begins. Massive fight win for Roger Williams, and now ultimates galore going into this crucial fight.
So it's a press queue competition, it seems, and Chongyun can't even participate. Again, Cammy has to use the Meteor Strike just to survive, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to do so for all that long. They do hunt down Harper. Oh my goodness, join the UFC with those moves. That's an insane way to pick up at least one. A duplication of the Kiriko should be able to solidify that Kitsune rush fairly quickly, but's having difficulty doing so. They pop it just before falling, but it does not end up being fully depleted. That's the one issue. Sound barrier now for Roger Williams. They want to try and lock out Gardens in the subsequent map as a whole with it. Chongyun finds a duplication of a support of their own, but can they find a sound barrier in the process? No. No, they cannot, and everybody forced back. They did not touch with 97 or more on the cards. They will, however, still get OT.
Yeah, it will be just a slight touch late on from Noob. They're not able to get the Kitsune Rush online, and now it's up to Bio, but they will not be there either. These elongated fights as the clock keeps ticking. It's the good news for the Hawks as they inch closer to winning this first map and a must-win series for their season.
Yeah, College Staten Island again will be able to stagger themselves to the day ends, but it will end, that being this point in favor of Roger Williams. RWU, they will scream themselves to a first map. First 2 points were extremely close, but the third, one-sided as it gets, and they'll take Lijiang 2-1.
A nice performance. I will say Staten Island still some positives to take out of it, especially Cammy on this Ramatra. 4K early. I think his ace got stolen here, admittedly. But an excellent play there from Staten Island, but it's not enough. Reg Williams, especially on that last point, they needed to have very quick fights. With that kind of comp, you need your Doomfist, Trace, and Echo all to be on the same wavelength. And it seemed like it was always Cammy and one of the DPS who were on the same wavelength. It was either the Echo or the Tracer, whether it be trying to survive, trying to flank the other DPS. They were not all on the same wavelength, and it hurt them because as these fights went longer and longer, it was only better and better for the Hawks.
See, they didn't really run a zombie comp per se, but it seemed a lot closer to one, at least on their own side. Those longer fights really paid off for them. We saw this on point 1 as well, where even if they lost an opening member, they had enough elongation of the fight for that member to join back into the fray. Air 777 came back into a couple of those fights when they were still playing the Cassidy. You gotta say, credit where credit is due. Even when going down early, they were able to resurge themselves and bring some of those fights back, and that's exactly what they needed. Fights to stay involved in and give themselves an arguable chance. And it worked. Map 1 goes in their favor. It'll now force out CSI to pick a second map. Remember, that was, technically, CSI's map selection. Everybody plays Lijiang, though, so take it with a grain of salt. But we're moving into hybrid, and CSI will get their selection once more.
Part of me thinks they may go Numbani because they went it a few weeks ago in their ECC match. I believe it was against New York Tech. And they looked pretty decent on the map. I won't lie. They looked very decent. I believe they won that map. So if they want to full force the dive with maybe a non-Doomfist look, I think that may be a good call. But, you know, you look back at it, RWU ran an excellent dive. Like, on Gardens. That was a great dive. They peeled when they needed to. So it could honestly go either way. We do have some subs in as well. So curious to see how those shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, the notable subs, Phobic is in for Noob. Phobic will take DPS instead of Noob's support, and Bio will go from support, or from DPS to support, to take over Noob's position. I gotta say, I don't hate that, but I feel like if you're swapping that so early, it's a lot of the unknowns for us because we don't see these teams as often as honestly we'd like to. But as we move into map 2, maybe it's something they themselves were ready for. And again, it is CSI, so they're picking into a map they're prepared for. It could just be a role swap that they're ready for on their own map selection. We'll see when we get into, you guessed it, Numbani.
I will say, when I heard the swap, I'm like, maybe it's like a BAP Zen look that we're seeing, and they're shifting that over to try and have like an aggressive Zenyatta, but okay, I like this. This tells me more, hey, it might be an Ana Brig or something to that degree as a backline. Even though, yes, Brig is not great anymore after some of the changes that hit her, just to be blunt. She is still very nice to have in these dive comps to make sure Ana is able to do her thing. So I wonder if that's the direction they're going with, maybe like a Winston, and I keep that Echo Tracer, because Tracer admittedly might be the best DPS in the game right now. It's weird to say, she didn't get like any ridiculous buff, but just where the meta has landed, she is arguably one of the best DPS. I want to see Staten Island though punch early, punch fast, and fix those little mistakes that they had with the target prio.
So the only problem I see right now is CSI had very difficult times in more open fights. As of right now, moving into what we saw as Night Market and then a little bit back on Gardens, they had problems out in the open. And Numbani is almost exclusively in the open. So when you're moving into a map like Numbani, first point will probably be the most contentious for the Staten Island attack. They will choose the attack, or they will be given the attack. Roger Williams had the choice of side. They choose the defense. I like that decision. I'm usually a defense enjoyer. Seems like RWU does as well.
Yeah, they'll run the Torb, which,
yes,
unbeknownst, oh my god, is Soda hits a crazy shot early on the bio, ends their push rather quickly. But this Torb is unironically a great counter because Sombra and Tracer picked for the Dolphins.
I think the turret's currently down, so they will have to replace that at some point. And as of right now, Chongyun's in the back line, and Cartoon Blaze has no clue where that Sombra is because, again, she's a Sombra. Here's Phobic on the Tracer. They'll have to go as well. It seems like a dive is on the cards for Overclocked, who could very well be isolated should a hack come through on time, but will it be coordinated well enough? There's the hack. They will try to isolate everybody from their tank, and it works. Phobic jumps onto Cartoon Blaze. Cammy will fall, but so too will the entire DPS line of Roger Williams. Staten Island can snowball this, but if they don't do so quickly enough, Cammy will come back, but so too will both of the DPS players for Roger Williams.
They're trying to get this Tracer hard, but they won't be able to do it. Now the hack comes through. Overclocked goes from 600 to 100 real fast, and they will just get out of mech late on. Pulse, though, is able to finish it off.
The D-Mech came through. I thought the cleanse was going to keep him alive, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be the case. Yeah, great fight plan from Staten Island. Not only does the dive work, they recollect themselves, sit on point, and force Roger Williams out of the backline. They don't go overzealous and chasing for players who could have been staggered. They take advantage of the fact that they had taken point priority. And it works for them. They cap first. That was the main point I was concerned about. Into point 2, maybe a little bit less, but still certainly a concern for their playstyle. Luckily, they've basically swapped their playstyle.
And I will say the hack there from Chongyun was perfect on the Overclocked because it denies the peel. It's exactly what they have this D.Va for. Denies the peel from even existing, and the dive goes through perfectly. And again, Soda, another headshot onto the backline.
Oh, a missed cleanse, but it's not going to matter, it seems. Cammy will fall. I don't think this was really a required usage of the Kitsune Rush, but it works regardless. I mean, you win a fight anyway. But you had already taken out 1. You had damage out of 2 more. Take advantage of your ults while you have them.
Yeah, you might as well. And Kitsune is at least one you can build relatively fast. It's not like it's one that takes forever, so I don't mind if they went aggro for it to make sure they can hold corner, but they lose Harper right away.
The Nano is thrown through onto Cammy. They want to try and hunt people down with the Primal. Usually you'll see players pop the Primal after that Nano is extended. It's not going to matter at the end. They do go for that mech, but it doesn't work. At least nothing lethal to close things out. Air ends up duplicating over onto the Tracer, finds a Pulse Bomb to kill 1, follows up onto Rip SR, and just like that, Roger Williams go from having a massive disadvantage in player count and HP to now forcing Staten Island back to their own spawn doors. Where did that come from?
What a dupe from Air, going from falling off the map to saving a fight here, and they almost catch Bio in the very beginning of this. Roger Williams will have everyone coming back. Overclock will need to settle down just for a second as Soda does come back into the fray, but as this EMP looms, Staten Island need to figure out something.
There it will. 3 players found with it. No, 4 at that. Seemingly everybody will be collapsed upon. The peel was good early, and everybody else just eats the fruit of their spoils. Staten Island looks so good on the engagements, but it takes so long for them to coordinate some of them.
That was a 5-man EMP from Chungyu, and it was perfect. Just waiting around. Overclocked was not fully healed up yet, even though they're one of the only ones who got out somehow, some way for the Hawks, and they still have plenty of time to reaggress. Cartoon will be looking to get this pulse bomb onto the backline somewhere.
Can he find anybody? That's the real question. We've seen it miss a few times. It will once more, so nothing there. A duplication of a Brig, surprisingly enough, but do they build up the rally quickly? Doesn't seem like it. Great use of the cleanse will keep alive Overclocked, but not so much for Harper and everybody else. As soon as Lucio falls, so too does Manao Soda, and it's just nothing that Roger Williams can do to stay in this second point fight. Staten Island have 2 and an extra minute 30, 3:30 overall to cap third.
That was a rough Ajax. That was a rough Ajax for Harper. She's gonna be wishing she had that one back. I think Soda's cleanse was meant for her, but it actually hit the dupe instead. So that was a rough turn of events there for the Hawks, who now need to get a perfect fight, and they lose one already.
Oh my gosh. Air is just evaporated. Seems like they lived up to their name and they weren't planning on doing so coming into this one. Another virus lands as Chungyun has played a near perfect Sombra. Nobody will live whatsoever. And Air onto the Cassidy. Unsuccessful to start, we'll say.
Yeah, no, that's a rough start if you're Air, and they also go to the Genji as well here from Cartoon Blaze to try and put more pressure onto that backline, who just doesn't seem to die in these fights, and it's a must-win condition here for RWU.
No ults available for Staten Island. There is the explosion available for Overclock, so at least they can do something with that. But the Brig swap extremely unsuccessful early, and they'll die almost immediately. Pulse bomb thrown through spawn doors. Nothing lethal there, but Overclock is virtually isolated in the backside of this point. Will they find anything? It doesn't seem like it. Yeah, again, they have the mech to go off and keep themselves alive. Will they get back into it? Yes, for the time being. And Cammy falls. Sutuda's phobic. Staten Island will have to disengage and play for another fight.
They will have to wait. They have the EMP Nano to go on to Cammy during this next fight.
What?
They have plenty of options. It's almost Rip SR being a little too aggressive in a game that, you know, a shield to a gunfight is not the ideal matchup most of the time. But Chungyun will start making this rotation. Deadeye is online for Air if needed. Oh, actually, Chungyun's found out.
Will they survive? That's the question. Virus thrown, Chungyun, everybody completely circles their position. But Overclock not only finds the kill, but will get out with their life intact. Deadeye used. Somehow one, make it 2 kills picked up. Cammy with the nano, just a lethal force in the backline to Tesla Cannon, shocking everybody to their core, and they'll find one more with it as well. Air will not have any influence on this point, and nobody will be able to touch Staten Island. Not only do they complete Numbani, they do so with more than a minute remaining on their time bank. A guaranteed attempt at things into OT should it be required.
That is why they picked this map. They have that dive, and it worked so well as soon as they got into streets, and once they got through those first few fights that, you know, whether it be Air going nuts with the Echo, getting a few kills, Overclock just not dying. But then Staten Island, they got their momentum going. They've realized the small adaptations in their play, not even in their hero selection, but just how they wanted to play it. They knew that they weren't getting enough pressure on Soda and Harper in that backline. They put more of an emphasis on that, and it forced Air to be way less aggressive and way more reactive to try and help their healers, but instead that actually shifted more into the Dolphins' favor. And they're going to go right back to it. Why the heck not at this point? It worked extremely well in the attack.
So, Roger Williams, what do they change onto their attack? Obviously, teams sometimes have a different principle of their attack versus their defense for maps like this, especially developmental ones like Numbani. I like to see the Staten Island is sticking with the exact same composition that worked for the entirety of their attacking phase, but it will look a little concerning to me when they're the ones being dived upon rather than the opposing side of things. I also like air going on to the Soldier here, mainly because I'm just a Soldier one trick, but Soldier here would really help shut down both the Tracer and that Sombra, make things at least easier for them. And they're just circumventing the entirety of the front side of this hold. Chongyun seems 4 players, though, so maybe it's not going to matter. Low HP for 2 of them as they're just luckily able to get out. I don't think Lucio will be able to do so, though. Virus catches them. They'll jump into a closed-off position, and they should be sprayed down. They will when now Soda falls as well. This is a great start, but they lose both their support line. I lied. Overclock falls, so something to recover. And yeah, Air's alone. Soldier's good. He's not good enough to find a 1v4, it seems, and he'll get out. He does find an exit.
Yeah, it turned out 3v3, no supports. That was pure just, hey, team deathmatch, take your ones. And Staten Island were just had a little bit more health going into that part of the fight, where they were able to close it down as Air, maybe playing a little aggressive, but they still have that healing totem to make sure they get healed back up, as the Hawks will just kind of slowly move up to this point, not too aggressive as overclocked. Well, that's why you don't.
I don't hate the jump in, but you have no support. Nobody else on your team can jump with you, at least not as immediately as you do. And you didn't prep it. It was a little bit of a questionable play from the start, and you can see exactly why. Pack will land on the Soda. They find the Virus onto Air. Everybody falls. Staten Island looked great in the first 90 seconds of the second round.
Yeah, they look phenomenal right now. And, you know, once we get to 2:30 here, if Roger Williams wants at least a somewhat comparable time going into overtime in the event they capture, they probably need to get this point in this fight or next fight at the very latest to make sure they're at least on a decent enough pace to make sure they have time left in the bank. Of Staten Island, they have a lot to work with, but I don't believe they have the sleep for overclocked on high ground.
Oh no, and Rip SR, it's just Rip to Rip SR. Bobik does have Pulse Bomb, they could go hunting with it. They will recall, find one onto Harper, looking for a second onto Manal, somehow lives through that first fight, and the Primal Rage will be successful to keep them involved in this. Still, no cap there, as Overclock will fall just the same. Down goes Air 77 as they're alone with the Visor. And just like that, Staten Island will full hold. Not even a first tick gained from Roger Williams, and I thought they were going to win the first point.
That was an insane turnaround from Roger Williams, not Roger Williams, from Staten Island, sorry. As, again, they lose their brig. They lose their honor. Roger Williams does the first half of this fight perfect, right? They get both supports. Everyone else on the Hawks is and everyone else on Staten Island is displaced. And yet, just the members of the Dolphins able to turn the fight around.
So Cartoon Blaze will be lucky if they can build up a Death Blossom before the end of this first round. Primal is indeed built up, but honestly not very successfully. They over-dedicate themselves to, we'll say, a disadvantageous couple of fights. They do find one onto Rip SR. Again, the Brig very susceptible to those dives with the lack of support around them. Cammy, lucky to be alive right now, but a help from his sleep, and the Tracer will live them through that one. 45 seconds, a fight plus one maybe for Roger Williams.
And it's not like they have many ults to work with, Dan. They may have support ultimates going into this. Harper needs to make sure she stays alive, and Soda as well. The ideal situation here for Roger Williams, they have a very similar dive to, you know, the two fights they got at least close, but you got to make sure you regroup, and then you pick them off one by one during the mid-fight.
Counter dive is there for Cammy. They are so low, though. Lucky to still be alive. The dive in the backline, great sleep, but an even better cleanse will allow Roger Williams that advantage. And a jump in here for the Reaper. Bioactive will be lucky if they live through this, much less survive the engagement. They will end up finding help onto one, a kill onto a second, but nothing to turn around the point. I don't know how this cap will go, though. The snipe onto Chongyun, they'll die. That should be first point just about over.
And they almost have Primal, actually. If Cammy wants to, they can pop it, stall this out. They may get Nano late on, but no, they're going to elect to try and save their backline. They don't. And the Hawks, they'll keep on flying for now. 2.5 minutes on the clock, but they do need a pretty flawless street phase to have a decent time going into final. But again, they had the nice dive on the high ground. They don't get Bio right away, but it doesn't matter. They're able to get everyone else and actually, just for a half a second, settle down, figure out how they want to go with the rest of the fight.
So the Shadow Step there. You have the Death Blossom as well to go to a high ground. You could just jump down with this thing. We've seen it before. How successful will it be second time around? That's the real question. They see 2 players with it. They'll jump in alongside, find one. They try to expose the Brig, and they'll end up finishing what they started. But Cammy finds 2 of their own. It is, again, a lack of a support line nearly across the board, as now Soda will go down just the same. Cammy and Overclock both press Q, but Cartoon Blaze, they don't have any cooldowns to survive through the fight. It is a Winston 1v1. We love to see it, but how will it go for the defensive side? Very poorly, as Cammy has absolutely no help. And the advantage of the close spawn doors, Cammy just accepts their fate.
I feel bad for Harper. That's the second Ajax. Man, that's rough.
Yeah, Ajax again.
That is another Ajax. At least for her this time, her team was able to win the fight, but you got to be kicking yourself this way. Like, what else can you do to make sure it lands safely? Is everyone is trying to be quiet up here just to make sure they don't know what the dive's going, but yet they see the kunais and the dive is in.
How successful will it be? Pulse Bomb will stick. Do they find anything with it? No. Amazing cleanse. Deadeye going to be used from up above. Cammy has just shut down this point from behind and has caught Harper in the back line. Again, just too susceptible to that dive coming through. Good hack on to Cartoon Blaze. They'll die. Everybody else will do so directly afterwards. Roger Williams, just no part in that fight. I don't even think they found a kill.
No, they weren't. You know, I don't blame Air. Like, hey, I'm going to use Deadeye, try and catch somebody off. And then it's like, oh, everybody is still in their high ground. Except
I can go seek.
It's like, oh, okay. Air will go to the Bastion. They're going to commit to full rush now. BAP as well and the Ram. I don't mind this look, but you got to make sure you find some way to put pressure on the Bywin Rip SR. That may have to be on Cartoon Blaze at this point.
So their Tracer's in the back line. Never mind. Their Tracer's dead.
Their Tracer's
They're going back
dead.
to spawn doors. Echo, I'm surprised they haven't brought that one into this second point. It seems like it would have been useful. EMP is going to be built up, though, and in OT, the EMP can be the difference maker. There it goes, alongside the Primal, but Air just snipes down Shang Yun. They will absolutely eliminate any chance of a dive, and second point is indeed secure. I think they did it before the fight even ended. There's still a minute 30 on that time bank. They've got a shot at capping this.
They do. They'll have window and DPS ults to work with, so it's not out of the question. They need just some sort of time left on the clock. If they cap with 0, it is just Staten Island who can have an attempt on the attack. So a very important fight here for Roger Williams. Staten Island are going to just bank on the fact they have Pulse soon, and they have the Nano as an escape button.
Only the third different tank we've seen here on Numbani, that being the Ramatra. Thus far, it seems successful. They will have Primal built up alongside the Nano, but they won't need the former of the two. Why do you use it? You had the fight won already. They seemingly want to over-dedicate them. I mean, Reaper should die here, but way too much damage done with the Danger shotguns, Hellfire shotguns. They'll die. Okay, you won the fight. Maybe the Primal was. My bad.
It was... I don't know if it was like absolutely necessary, but I think it helps solidify the fight. There's nice little Nano in, you get the lamp out, and music to their ears is basically guarantee that they will not have any time left if they do cap. So at this point, Roger Williams playing for a draw here in map 2, but they do have 3 incoming, a 4th ultimate to work with.
They have Death Blossom, they've got Sound Barrier. They're gonna use the Sound Barrier. No Ajax this time around, and it's perfectly timed as the Pulse Bomb was used, but inconsequential. There goes that Amp Matrix, gonna jump into the back line. Phobic there. Death Blossom as well. That one will find 2 somehow over top. It seems like the cap will come through, and at the end of the day, it will. The team kill to close, but you said it. Roger Williams, even before they fully capped, are playing for, at best, a draw.
At best, a draw here on Numbani, and they have, I would argue, 2 fights to go at it. 2 decent fights to work with. This will be interesting. I want to see what they come out with. Roger Williams, they know they have to play smart. I almost want them to lean into the rush. It looked better there at the end, and because of how well Staten Island like to run the dive, unless you want to commit to the counter dive, it may be a little awkward. But also first point here on Numbani, it's just hard to run rush of any sort. But they will, well, they're going to run a hybrid. They're going to run the dive with the exception of Air sticking to the Bastion.
So how does this end up working? The problem now is you thought you were going to take on a Winston, but instead it's a Diva. I think that individual swap could change things entirely. The defense matrix could basically extend past that turret formation. I don't think Error's going to have enough time on that. I think this one could go to Roger Williams, but it's going to depend on how useful the D.Va is.
And I will say, just for the fun of it, you know, the last draw we had in ESU was 3 days ago, during the CECC West final, and guess what map it was on? It was on Numbani, so we may see the second draw on this map in 3 days.
Well, it's up to Staten Island to determine that one. Cammy just gets lit up. Oh my goodness, they're lucky to still be alive, and they'll be demeched. This is a perfect time to just back away for Roger Williams. You gain nothing by overcommitting, but it seems like Staten Island don't particularly care that Cammy is outside of their mech. They still have both the Tracer and the Sombra in the backline. The jump back in is there for Overclock and fairly successful, but the sleep only getches onto the Reaper. They find the mech back though. Overzealous nature of Roger Williams could very well change their fate, but nothing to turn around this game just yet. Anti lands, but so too does that immortality field. The jump down from Overclock there into Chung Yoon, but Air will go down. Staten Island looking to cap this one, but their backline did indeed get collapsed on from behind. They need just one tick. They are just percentage points away from it, but they won't find it just yet. It's been elongated fights that have been the absolute Achilles heel of Staten Island, but will it be a C9 that costs Roger Williams this first point? Phobic so low, lives through the primal, they'll end up taking care of Overclocked. Staten Island, by the hair of their chinny chins, will indeed outlast the possible draw, and Numbani will go their way.
We will now have another draw. Great patience there from Staten Island. Admittedly, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, oh, they're actually just gonna chill with Cammy out of mech. I don't know if not Cammy, sorry, with the D.Va out of mech, and I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, because it is a big risk. You are basically banking on the fact that, A, they don't get killed when they're trying to get back in mech. B, they get back in mech in a reasonable time. And you could also win that fight right after when they know exactly where you are, other than your DPS who were in the back line. But it was a perfect dive into the back. They get the BAP off the high ground away from their lamp, and they collapse from there. No need to have those late fight stressors like they did on Li Jiang. And all of a sudden, we got a series on our hand.
Yeah, and a 1-1 even series, as it seems. I got a question. As we move into this third map, how do things change? We went from control to hybrid, and the winners of the map types changed. But as we move into escort, the map type itself is fairly similar. I'm going to say I think CSI has an advantage going into this third map, but I don't know how concerted it'll be, because even then, they barely won Numbani.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder if they just try and force rush. You know, like, do they just try and go to a map where the rush is maybe a little bit better? Because it's obvious that, RW needs to force a map that is rush.
Yeah.
CSI are very comfortable on the dive. That is very evident seeing that map. And it's not like the Hawks are uncomfortable on the dive. They looked decent at times. But I do think the Dolphins dive is just a little bit better. Maybe it's because, you know, they're so aquatic and diving into the water. I was getting there, sir. But yeah, no, I do think the rush is maybe a little bit better here. Yeah. I'm just killing you tonight at this point. That or unless they want to throw like a random curveball and go like circuit and play full poke.
Hey, there's a lot of options as we move into map 3. What map we'll send it to, the map type is already predetermined. Sorry, that's not a question. But what the play styles will be onto map 3. Luckily for us, only a few minutes till our questions will be answered. It's escort when we return from the break. About as even as things could get through 2 maps. Not only we're tied on map count, we're even tied on round count. It's an overall 5-5 as it stands. And I gotta say, moving into Circuit Royale, you made the prediction. Poke could be on the cards here, Jesse, but by no means is it a guaranteed strat to victory.
Yeah, definitely not a guarantee because especially we haven't seen it. And to be fair, we don't know the map either yet. Producer Colton is keeping it a little secret, I believe.
I was told Circuit. It was in my ear.
I was not told in my ear. Sorry. Clear bias over here. So at least I called it. Going over to the Poke, we do see one. So I believe Noob comes back in. Rip SR is out. So maybe now we see that Bap Zen look. Sigma's been weirdly enough like lurking in this meta just a little bit as like a weird anti-JQ comp. Usually we've seen that more in like Push and maps like, you know, even New Junk City, Suravasa for Flashpoint. But I'm curious, this will be more back old school, back to the old school Poke. And even though, you know, we're here in Monaco, no F1 today.
Hey, F1 does start tomorrow. FYI to everybody who follows F1. Because Ramadan starts on Sunday, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix starts on Saturday. So FP1 starts tomorrow. Wake up, right
fellow F1 enjoyers. Yes.
Yes. Also, for the context, this is the Circuit of Monaco in the Principality. Hence the reason the point is an F1 car.
The more you know, everybody. You learn something new every day. But we will see a side swap as well going into this map. So it'll be Robert Williams on the attack first. Yep, there you go. Nice little poke. Staten Island as well. They will go with the Soj Widow. Currently, Roger Williams teasing the Ash Widow. I think that's admittedly a little better on this map. The Soj is more for the shield break and using that disruptor shot to kind of force away some of these angles. But on the other end, Roger Williams, they're not running a Zen currently. They will run in a Mercy to presumably pocket air.
Why would they pocket air? Don't they want to usually pocket a hero?
Some days.
And we're off! Game number 3 underway. Circuit Royale with Roger Williams, as you said, starting on the attack. Cartoon Blaze going off to the left side. The Widow has been seen and taken care of. Say goodbye to Phobic. They could be, I'd say, quick to get back to things should this not circle that corner. But it's going to be much more difficult considering Chun Yun's playing that Sojourn and not as much of the long-distance prowess compared to Roger Williams. It seems like Air even following up. They do find Overclocked. Wait a second, this fight completely turns on its head. Even with the support line being down, Cammy, they'll be lucky if they survive through this one, and they won't. Overclock gets rezzed, and the fight quickly ends.
Phobic will find one, and it's actually onto Soda. So only Mercy heals right now for the Hawks. They're going to play a little bit more conservative as they go around this corner. But like you said, the Soj, it does a lot to help in the middle, but the range difference right now heavily in favor of the Hawks. Other than Bio trying to shoot through the little gaps here in the barricades. Love seeing that. But it will be, honestly, this Ash Mercy pocket working out great.
The touch will get there. Phobic takes much more damage than they deal, even with 2 shots getting off. Air hits the headshot, hits a second. Somehow, Chongyun's alive. They won't live through a dynamite, though. Air very spatially aware. They'll find the follow-up. They'll find another headshot at a Phobic who can't swing safely. And the Immortality Field, that's gone. Say goodbye to Noob, who'll fall to the Accretion. And the jump up. There goes the Widow. Air is so good at Overwatch 2, and Roger Williams, for the 2nd consecutive map, will finish point 1 and have just shy of 5 minutes on the time bank.
Hitting the shot in the air like their namesake called it. And I love, again, the Ash is working great because, again, they have that range difference. Well, don't go in their face, though. That's kind of the opposite of what you're trying to do in this comp, and they're going to take full advantage.
Grab will be successful. This is just Rupson shot that finds a final blow, but well, let's be honest, Cammy did like most of the 625 HP worth of damage. Cartoon Plays can't even get to themselves to the health pack. And Roger Williams, yes, they cap first. They even make it around the hairpin, but oh my goodness. Air's good at the game. Phobic wants to say they're better.
Yeah, at least getting a little bit of revenge and the shield to go up to make sure that res is used safely. But now we get into a little bit of the ults being in play. Both teams, well, everyone's seeing everybody. Inversight used on both sides, and Phobic barely able to say they're alive for now, but Air cannot say the same.
No, and Harper, I don't think they have the res up back just yet. That makes things much more problematic with the Infrasights online. Somehow they use the amplification matrix through this one. They want to try and take full advantage of it. But without air in the conversation, by no means is this going to be easy, nor can they take full advantage of that repeat fire ability. Can they find any lethal damage? With their own grab, no. It is completely blocked out by the Transcendence. Overclock will be absolutely hunted down. Melees are afoot, as is the Overclock itself. Great usage of it. Bob surprisingly dedicated in what was already a lost fight. This is becoming a little bit more desperate for Roger Williams.
I was wondering if they were going to swap, but they will not in the end. So Staten Island will just continue holding this high ground against the same comp. I'm starting to think this is the only part of the map, especially where that Soj may actually be better, because that corner is so hard to push through normally. And when you throw a disruptor shot, it just stalls and stalls, and then an accretion can come in through from Cammy. You have as well, you know, Bio sending in those orbs. So now what a flux goes in, everybody tumbling down.
Yeah, but everybody seems to stay alive at the end of things, and Overclock is back up to nearly full HP. The Flux, yeah, catches most players, but they completely avoid that Amp Matrix. They completely avoid the line of sight after they end up going to the floor. Here comes Phobic sniping for a shot of their own. Cartoon Plays and themselves both don't find anything, but Air again will find Chongyun with the dynamite, and they follow up on their previous aiming prowess. This makes things much more problematic for Staten Island because that repeated damage and follow-up ability not as easily found. Cammy will live inside of that immortality field, but how much more will they be able to do as they're isolated? Great timing on the trans, will be able to find one, but how much more do they find with it? Chongyun joins themselves back into the fight. Discord goes on to Cartoon. This fight's still barely over, much less even fully started, but the domination of Cammy, something to be studied, as this one seems to be just about over. Second point will indeed be capped. Chongyun can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they're just going to have to sit there and take it. It will be just over 3 minutes left on the clock, and eventually you poke and you poke and you poke and you eventually force out the Transcendence. Bio is not able to get to a safe spot after the Transcendence ends, and from that point on, they're able to continue putting that pressure on, and without the Zen there, everything was going to fall. But Air continues to be extremely aggressive, but it'll be their counterpart who falls.
Phobic goes to the high ground, so too does Cartoon Blaze, and they figure out why the high ground is such a sought-after position. Great shot. Somehow Chongyun lives through that. Noob got off enough healing shots. Phobic will end up taking down Air and has some help onto Overclock. Yeah, Roger Williams again are on to this next point, but it seems like they just get stalled out directly after. Cartoon Blaze dies twice in the same fight to the same fate, and finally CSI stabilize.
And they didn't have to use an ult either. They have 4 ultimates. They're halfway to their next Transcendence. It is just because Phobic is in such a powerful position up here. You need to either have a good flank or just hit the right shot to really displace Phobic, because they have all the positioning advantage in the world right now. Infrasight will be popped by both sides. Everybody seeing where each other are trying to set up, and that means the Widow's just going to have a good old-fashioned stun.
It's a game of who will peek around the corner first, and or who will win the fight as both of us peek around the corner. Doesn't seem like anything's consequential there. The wall misplaced. They could lose their... it's not going to happen. Now Chongyun will lift and follow. Cammy will find 2 with the Flux. Yeah, Air finds help onto 1, but it's really not going to matter. They're isolated. They should go down shortly thereafter. And yeah, the Zenyatta somehow lives through that, and everybody else will die on Roger Williams.
Yeah, it's somehow able to live and almost builds up that Transcendence, and another shot from Phobic. And that'll just stall this out even more. The Hawks have to wait and wait. They'll actually go off of the Widow. They will go onto Hanzo to hope one of these logs can find the right target, especially after that last fight. Beautiful combination with the Flux lifting it up in Chongyun. Able just to line it up with the Overclock. Bob will go on just to stall point, but it won't matter. Phobic hits another shot.
And Air getting a little overzealous. Their Bob will fall as well. It seems like nothing's going the way of Roger Williams in the enclosed point. Some swap has to come through outside of just your DPS line. Nobody lives whatsoever. Overclocked will fall. Air is already dead, or had already died. This is... They've even swapped to the Widow too? I don't know about it.
I get it. You have to try and put some sort of pressure on them. I was almost thinking, do they go back to the Tracer Echo just to try and force the positioning a little bit? But you also play the chance of like, hey, you could just get sniped on your way up to try and aggress. You need to win at least 2 fights here, maybe 2 fights and a stall to try and finish this point. And it's not like Phobic is missing.
Nope. Oh, and Air is already dead. They'll just be melted as it stands. Flux whiffs. They have the Valkyrie, yes, but to heal what? Staten Island isn't even giving you the time of day, much less a line of sight to eliminate them on. Transcendence is available as well. Virtually a win condition in and of itself. And yeah, Overclocked is on the point and keeping things alive for the time being, but Phobic just raining in terror from up above, and a Flux of their own will land. They don't even have the time to send anybody to the floor. Everybody falls before getting the chance, and it will be the overtime wick ticking away as soon as they take care of the Valkyrie, or previously Valkyrie and Harper. That should just about do things, and it will. Staten Island, outstanding hold, second point. Yeah, they give up 40%, plus the first 2 ticks, but hey, Staten Island will have a chance to win it in regulation.
Yeah, honestly, once they got to third phase, Phobic was like, I'm not losing this point. I just refuse to lose it.
I don't think Phobic died in third point.
Don't know if they did either during that third phase. This continuously hit the shots that were needed, forced Air and Cartoon to try and force onto something else, but just no matter what they swapped to, nothing seemed to work there for the Hawks. But the question is now, can you keep up the momentum when you're on the attack? When the defense admittedly has, again, that positioning advantage during a lot of this map, with that natural high ground, it'll be on to Phobic to continue that, continue that momentum that they had over on their attack. Raj Williams, they will give up on the Mercy as well. They will go over to the Zenyatta, try and add a little bit of that range as well as that Orb of Discord to try and help Overclocked a little bit in that front line.
I'm gonna be honest. I would have loved to see a Sombra there. Sombra Tracer.
I wouldn't have minded it, yeah.
Honestly, just because Sombra is very fun to watch the chaos unfold. I hate playing against her or as her, but watching from like a third party where I really don't care about the game outcome other than I hope it's a good game. I really want to see Sombras because not only are they fun to watch, but they can really eliminate a Phobic Widow if they are susceptible and kind of overexposed to anything other than the low ground. So, it could have been, but for the time being, it's not. Soldier, and I'm going to say a very surprising decision to bring the Hanzo again. Overclocked is lucky to be alive, but basically body blocked and isolated. They're gone already. Makes things much more problematic. And it seems like that will just snowball things into another. Somehow the relay of orbs doesn't immediately kill Chongyun, and they'll follow up for a kill of their own. Staten Island, they follow up with a fairly successful first point as well.
Yeah, perfect fight. Just like it was for Raj Williams on their attack. That first fight goes great. They'll go over to the Ram, but stick the Zen. So, all of a sudden, the attitude shifts here for Staten Island. You just gotta force Overclocked to not get anything done aggressively with Nemesis form. Try and just consistently shoot them, make sure they're using guard for a majority of the time, because it's not like they have as much sustain or speed to work with.
Air is fairly quick, called legs for a reason, but Overclock not so much. Again, dies first. Harper does find a return. That's just about all that seems like they'll find. Chongyun finds an incidental spray onto Harper as they were on low health, and I think that is one of the quickest completions of Circuit, at least the first point I've ever seen. 5 minutes and 11 seconds on the clock. It took them a minute and 20 to complete.
And they will get all this high ground. It'll be really difficult for Roger Williams to push up to be able to hold the top of that in that corner. And they also go back to the Sigma. They're going to give up on the Ram. The gamble did not pay off, and all of that ult charge is gone. Kami will have a 70% advantage, and they will have it going into the next fight, but not with their Soj.
No, I don't think you want to use the grab here if you don't have the ability to follow up on it. Missing a Sojourn makes things, again, more difficult. Phobic does go on to Harper, so say goodbye to that Zenyatta, and absolutely dominated is Air 777. They are sent crashing down. I'd be surprised if Overclock lives through this. They do have an amplification matrix, but you can't overheal Overclock on the same side of it. Overclock itself is used, but it is completely dominated by its namesake opponent. Doesn't seem like it's going to matter, though, and oh my goodness, the Zenyatta was almost headshot again.
Roger Williams just cannot figure out what they want to land on here for a comp. Cartoon Blaze will go over to the Mei. As this cart goes eerily close to the end of second phase, I don't think they're going to have a quality touch. They will have the Trank, but at what cost?
it's not going to be successful. Yeah, you give up a Trank. That's basically the cost. And yeah, say goodbye to your own.
Well,
at least you force out Staten Islands, but is it really going to mean that much? You could have set up a much better defense. Granted, there's still 5 minutes on the clock, so the defense really isn't going to matter. But 40%, or 40 meters, sorry, is going to take, what, 20 seconds?
And they have high ground already. You can see Chungyun's
no.
already on the high ground, just trying to make sure Air can't get up on the high ground to try and hold Arch advantage. Phobic has the ult. They have Gravitic Flux as well. It's going to be pertinent onto Air Overclock to either hit the Magnetic Nade or the Rock. Well, it has to be the Rock now.
And there's the grab. They will at least find some level of contention, but Overclocked is gone. Say goodbye to Circuit Royale, my friends. F1 may be around the corner, but we're not going to see this F1 car for all that much longer. They will hunt down the final remaining member, at least of that first fight on third point. Staten Island, the speediest close to what was a third point, mostly, capture I think I've seen, as they had 5 minutes on the time bank for more than just 10 seconds one occasion.
A ridiculous push here from Staten Island. And we talked about Phobic a lot, but Cammy as well was just holding into the front line. And they were doing ridiculously well. Just winning the front, winning the shield advantage, and putting Phobic in the right spots as well to get those picks. A disaster for Robert Williams on that map. There's no other way to put it. They will have the map pick again. It will go to push this time, where there is a lot less options and a lot less options to what kind of comp you can run on those maps.
Yeah, I'm going to say push is a little weird for me moving into things. Usually you see push as a 5th map type now, but I love Flashpoint. I really hope we get to Flashpoint because I love both Saravasa and New Junk City. But push, you're probably... I'm going to say if Roger Williams has the choice, we're probably going to see Esperanza. I'd be very surprised if they go with something different. Maybe New Queen Street, but that feels like a little bit of a stretch.
I don't think we're doing Coliseo. I don't know. It seems to be a map that like almost people are blacklisting as of late for whatever reason.
They don't like the first 5 minutes of the game being, hey, who wants to push first and die?
Yeah, and honestly, especially when, you know, Seaside has had their Widow be as ridiculous as they were, I got a feeling they're not going to try and play that gamble again. I don't think it's a bad call to say Esperanza, and yet there it is. You finally get on the pred board for tonight, and it will be Esperanza for the map. I do think this is a decent call. You can't run the dive, you can't run the rush. It's honestly whatever you want to feel going into this map. So it does leave it wide open here for the Hawks to try and make sure, hey, they're at least initially running their own game plan, and just got to pray that it actually works out.
I love being right. It's so much fun.
I can tell. You know,
That's
you're
all I'm gonna say. No.
you're not right very often during some of these map
I
spreads,
know.
So.
I know. It takes a while for me to get into the swing of things. I have a 50% shot if we go to map 5, so I feel like if we get there, I've got a decent chance. But Esperanza, it objectively makes sense. You looked better on the Ramatra back in map number 1. Ramatra is a viable hero to play on Esperanza. Not so much, at least not as long-term, especially against a Widow when you're playing on Coliseo. New Junk City's Flashpoint. New Queen Street, different new. Still not as easy to bring in the Ram. I'd be surprised if they don't play the Ram. Color me surprised. Junker Queen for the first time today.
Okay. I like this, honestly. I really like this for Roger Williams. Throw out a comp that has not been seen so far. Ripasart is subbed back in, as we talked about, and they'll be on the Brig to start. Was honestly expecting them on the Lucio, but I don't think the Brig is a bad call either. It just sucks that if Overclock gets too close to him, it could be a rough day at the office.
No, it just seems like a very blatant difference between the two as of right now. Chunyun going for information, great anti. They try and dive off the back of it, but the problem with that, as soon as that cleanse lands, it's completely countered out. Your DPS line for Staten Island, say goodbye to it. Yeah, you've taken out Harper, but the healing really wasn't the big factor there. As long as you still have the Junker Queen, that commanding shout could be the difference maker. Great anti, lands onto 2. Cleanse does onto only 1 though, and Air somehow lives through the jump. Cammy needs to be kicking themselves because there's no way that Cassie should be living, and the rest of their team will fall because of it. That is an insane finish, and Overclock, yeah, goes down, but I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, no, it's not going to matter. I think it's going to be impossible for Staten Island to run the dive into this comp. There are so many answers to it. Roger Williams did an incredible job cooking this thing up, and no matter what, we even saw it there. Overclocked is antied, but they still are able to get 2 kills before they're taken out, including one on the Cammy, and it will be, unless there's a last-second touch, that there will be this first hit going their way, but instead, Harper falls.
Harper down again early, but Roger Williams, we saw them win a fight with this before, with a nanoed Winston. I don't think it's going to be nearly as successful. They'll try to jump on the Junker Queen. Yeah, the rest of the team will do so as well. Overclocked is not going to live through that. So Staten Island will take back control of TS1, but 51 meters for Roger Williams. They're more than happy with that for a first couple fights.
They are going to be partying it up, seeing how, the last 2 maps not been great for them. And you're able to at least get that first minute and a half into your way. Yes, you lose that second fight. But where you can fight this, you're going to be able to fight it near 25 meters earlier than what Staten Island were able to on the other side.
So they're going for the high ground up and around. I like this call. You're not taking a direct duel. The problem is Chongyun could catch you out. Great usage of hindrance. Even better cleanse. Keeps them up for 1, but Air will fall after finding only 1. It's seemingly a 3 versus 2, but Cammy has Primal, so they basically account for 2 of themselves. Will they find anything consequential with it, though? Axe is good. Pulse Bomb even better. And somehow Staten Island are coming out on top of this fight? I'm sorry?
What a pulse. The pulse saves it from Phobic.
Oh, 100%.
Overclocked was so close to taking out Cammy, but instead they're the ones taken out, and the cleanup job is there. And with no supports on the board, it will be Staten Island who are actually able to get the first take.
They get first tick, they get forward spawns, clear and obvious advantage. They do lose Phobic, so now would be a good time to disengage for maybe 10 seconds while they come back in. And even forcing out the Kitsune, it is a game of hide and go seek, it seems, as Staten Island just do not want to be involved in the fight, and they won't be. They could give up forward spawns in this progress. They don't overextend themselves, though, and Cammy D does do so, unfortunately. Air finds 1 with the Deadeye. They take away forward spawns, and it seems like they may get themselves. Are they going to get to
this? This is a tricky spot, as they're still stuck in the back line. Up on the top, there's the hook, there's the carnage, while the cleanse saves SR for now.
And you find only Grip SR with the Rampage. Damage done. Blatant disregard for the EMP. It gets absolutely Ajaxed, and they'll end up getting forward spawns of their own. Outstanding fight for Roger Williams. It seems like they were going to give up many more meters than they did, and they take 3 very unique fights here on a map like Esperanza, and take full control of the bot as well.
What a knife there. Hey, first, they have, the power like, hey, no, Rip SR is dying. They're not building up this sound barrier during this fight. And then later, canceling out the EMP, Chongyun will go over to the Echo, Cammy over to the Doom, and they'll just force Roger Williams to this high ground, and there's the stick, cleanses through.
Cleanse has been very good on both sides today. You can see exactly why. Very few direct kills have come of pulse bombs with the cleanse available in the direct vicinity. But while they're still pushing the bot in the back line, is a game of hide and go seek.
Oh my god.
You just have Cartoon Blaze. Yeah, they'll die. It wasn't really a close fight. You get an extra 30 meters off of a game of hide and go seek. You're more than happy with that.
Oh, you got to be loving that if you're Roger Williams. Like, we got an extra, you would argue, 10 to 20 meters that we should not have gotten whatsoever. You're going to be pretty happy with that. Staten Island, though, spawns will switch over. Roger Williams will try and actually take control of the high ground first.
And Overclocked is just isolated and dead. Yep. This is, again, a weird fight that's forced out. Pulse Bomb, I thought, was thrown through. Just a sound cue of something else, I suppose. A Meteor Strike into the back line. They'll find Air, who will die. This is, again, a game of who can take more 1v1s in a team-based tactical shooter. And it works better for Staten Island somehow. Okay.
Who knew Dolphins would be better than Hawks in that regard, huh? Not what I would guess, typically. But Staten Island still some work to do. You can see the mark in the floor, and it will be Roger Williams still holding the lead. And, well, they got to hope Cammy's able to live. And, well, the answer's no.
I've never seen somebody pre-fire an axe into a jumping Doomfist. That is a new one to me. What in the world was that from Overclock? It works. They end up finding Cammy, who had no business being a part of that fight, and luckily forward spawns will slow things down, but Roger Williams still very much in this fight.
Very much in the fight. There goes the flip spawn. Honestly, if you're Roger Williams, with 4 minutes left, you can just win, lose, win, lose. You can just keep bouncing back and forth, and you will continue to hold the lead.
Sound barrier being built up for Roger Williams. It's currently available for Staten Island. Losing Cammy makes things difficult, but taking out Cartoon even better. Deadeye will find payload, and the sound barrier for Staten Island, it lands, yes, but you've duplicated a Kiriko, probably not the person you were aiming for. It does very little, if anything at all. Phobit trying to hunt down Overclocked on the Junker Queen. It seems like they'll die, but a commanding shout alongside a very well-timed cleanse will keep them up in this fight for the time being. And Staten Island, it's a game of who can delay for longer. But now Soda dies, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be fight-based consequential.
Yeah, they won't
Maybe
be able to
it
get
will.
any extra meters, but it will, it will start forcing them away as Overclock eventually going to have to serve their life sentences. That was such a long life for them when honestly it shouldn't have been. Cammy, though, may fall into the same thing, but they'll use the rush to live.
And they're still pushing the bot around at the same time. This is a pseudo 4 versus 5 for the time being. You can see in the back line, there is the movement of TS1. They want to go for it. Rampage will land onto just one. And Bioactive, not Radioactive, trying to go just that, but nothing that's going to win them the fight. Overclock dies. That could be the difference maker in this one, but seemingly everybody around Roger Williams will do the same. Sound barrier not available to counter out the pulse bomb that lands on top of the bot. And Staten Island seems like they'll take the lead.
They should be able to take the lead here, barring a very quick touch either from Harper or Overclocked, which it seemed like Air is going to actually try it, but they're going to get punished.
Oh no, and they'll die before the sound barrier goes off.
Oh.
At least Overclock finds one at a rip SR, and they'll start to push the bot back. Staten Island don't immediately play for this fight, because it just doesn't seem like they have the confidence to do so. Cammy wants to try and duel basically isolated, but as soon as everybody starts to look in their general direction, they don't have the cooldowns to live through a 4 or 5v1. They do have some support, and they find Manao Soda before they get the cleanse off. Phobic just barely finds the melee before the Kiriko would have been living forever. And Roger Williams, again, so conflicted in the fight, but it works for them. Cammy's dead. Maybe not.
This may work for Staten Island, actually, in the end, as the Echo is still alive. They will get the Pulse Bomb as well on Overclock. That should do it for now. With just over a minute left, the Dolphins claim the lead for the first time this game.
The Junker Queen duplication, that's a little wasted towards the end of the fight. Nothing coming of it. But you still have about 3 check marks coming on the board. You do have Meteor Strike as a get out of jail free card, and the Deadeye to try and create space. It's going to work with not only that commanding shout, but alongside the speed from the Lucio, they find Cammy. That is the MVP to pick up early. But look at Staten Island, just backing away. They don't want to play for the fight before they can, and they take out Overclocked in the process. That is drastic, terrible play for Roger Williams to start.
I love how Soda just kind of sat there for a half second, like, what have I done?
Oh no.
Like, what have I done? As it will honestly lead to an advantage for Staten Island. They still have close spawns, and they have both support elements to work with.
Oh, the Meteor Strike into the back line. Again, the cleanse lands, so too does the sound barrier. This could be what decides the game, this individual fight. They'll try to hunt down Air, who gets a cleanse and a sound barrier.
lives!
Rip SR is gone. Cammy may not get that same accolade, as it seems like they're a dead man walking in the back line. Staten Island, it's a statement they need to make, and one that will end with a comma. Roger Williams still very much in it.
Roger Williams keeping this alive, but they need to make sure they stay alive for the rest of this push. It will be overtime by the time this gets to the tick. They need to win one solid fight. The one thing for Staten Island, they only have DPS ults to work with. They'll have dupe soon. Honestly, probably onto the JQ of Overclock, but they need to make sure they keep cleanse for the Rampage incoming.
The backline dive, not as successful as they were hoping for. The Echo just now getting involved in the fight. Phobic needs to have something available for them. The Rampage near perfect. The duplication to directly counter it, though. And Chongyun, what can they do with a Rampage being built up of their own? Will they be able to find it before they're forced out of the dupe? That's the real question. Deadeye will land on a 1. A follow-up onto Cammy is lethal at that. And Air seems to turn on aimbot, but not quickly enough before the rest of their team will die. The College of Staten Island, it's CSI walking to the beach with a win here on Esperanza.
What a win, and basically, I don't want to say guarantee because I'm guessing our production would not like me saying guaranteeing a playoff spot. But I would say, unless ridiculous circumstances at this point, should at least be in that top 4, make it into the playoffs, and for Roger Williams, It's gonna be a lot of hoping and praying to make that playoff. At this point, it is out of their control from here on out. They will finish 3-3 in the regular season. But what a matchup! Just at the end, they're even just back and forth. Honestly, I was not sure who was going to win that fight, but it's the Echo there for Staten Island who gets a lot of the kills, and the support line's able to clean it up.
So I'm looking around things right now. Blue Hens Academy has to play FIU and Sage. They're currently 3-2. FIU is 4-0, still having to play the Blue Hens and Illinois Wesleyan. Sage is 1-4, only the win over Albany. And Illinois Wesleyan is 3-0, a delayed game against Blue Hens, either going on right now or will happen later on today. And then they still have to play, again, the match later on, and the match against, is that Illinois Wesleyan? No, they play against FIU. Yeah. They are Illinois Wesleyan. Sorry, I was making sure I was on the right tab. So you have 3 or 4 teams that are still very much in the conversation. I think all but one is mathematically in the conversation. But this game, you're 1 away from a 5th win. It seems like the threshold's going to be 4 to get in the playoffs, plus a tiebreaker. With 2 weeks left in the ECAC season, this is a much different landscape with a win here.
Yeah, honestly, for Staten Island, you're pretty excited. Like, hey, that is the game that we needed. And, you know, their final game is against Illinois Wesleyan. That is not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. They're arguably the best team in this group. So even though you may lose that game, it's going to be a tough test, but I do think they have the possibility to win it. You getting this win, basically like, hey, we're at least in that playoff hunt. We should be there, even if we can't get that win next week.
Well, they have a win here, and that's what matters. They at least set themselves up to control their own destiny. They still have a match to play. There's time for them to create better down the line. We'll see what their thoughts are and how they feel about this game and possibly the future of the ECAC when we come back from the break with an interview. It is CSI investigating their way through a best of 5 into a 3-1 victory over Roger Williams. Jesse's just shaking his head at me. We do have Cammy joining us in for an interview from CSI. And Cammy, to start things off, thank you for joining us. I have to say, commendations on the victory. A laborious one to say the very least, especially towards Esperanza.
Thank you. Yeah, that game was a lot of energy. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that game.
It seemed like a very elongated game for you guys. You yourself had to swap over a couple tanks. Nimbani was extremely long as well. But, I mean, the gentleman's sweep, only losing game 1, you were more than happy to play through not only your own picks, but Roger Williams as well.
Yeah, I think with us, since we scrim a lot and we do a lot of scrim blocks, and there seems to be this thing where teams only like to scrim certain maps, and those maps we have played so many times. The amount of times I've played Circuit Royale is unhealthy at this point, to be honest. So yeah, we were pretty prepared, and we always like taking the dive map. I mean, you see our dive; it's something we work on a lot, and like that OG dive, it's where our coordination lies, and we kind of have on our team where we like to beat people with our coordination and the way that we play with each other more than just pure mechanical skill. Because if you're beating people with pure mechanical skill, it's not a team environment.
Yeah,
He sounds like me.
I really really like that. So obviously you got one more game left against Illinois Wesleyan. How are you guys kind of looking at that game after such a result like this?
I mean, I think for us, we've definitely had over the last couple of weeks, I would say a downturn in how we've been playing. Like we've been playing a bit less, but I think getting this win is massive for us. I mean, we needed this confidence booster and to win a game that was closer than the 3-1 suggested at times. I think that's going to help us a lot in the long term.
Yeah, and especially right now, this meta's in a very weird spot to where you can run a lot of looks, and you guys did that tonight as well. You already talked about the dive a little bit, but are there certain comps that you guys are really feeling yourself on right now, or are you very open just kind of running with the flow of the game?
Yeah, I think for us, definitely. We have kind of our OG comps we kind of set in the back, but we used to play last patch, this Doomfist comp, and we've kind of taken that and looked at what they're doing in Korea right now with a lot of their comps, and we really figured out that just playing that Doom Tracer, it works so well. I mean, you saw on Esperanza, the minute I switch Doom, I can just instantly go in, follow up on people. They can't even speed out, and I think we call it the Korean comps, basically, and that's for us what we've liked a lot, this comp.
And it seems like you guys have been happy to play a lot of those more adjustable compositions. It also seemed like you had a lot more patience on your playstyle when you lost an opening pick, for instance, or if you didn't have the positional advantage you wanted to pick up, you just disengage, play for a different type of fight. Can you talk to me about your principles going into those duels? Because it just seems like you're so comfortable just giving away control of the bot or giving away control of the point and playing for a more advantageous fight later that'll help you down the line.
I think for me, when I grew up, right, which is crazy to say, watching Overwatch esports, a lot of the best teams, they were able to win 4v5s and re-engagement based on coordination, basically. And you saw a lot on Numbani, we would lose somebody early, and just playing by calling the coordination, we can just instantly go back in, take back what we need. And it happens so fast that the other teams, they can't basically adjust to what we're doing. And then at the same time, even if you lose 1 or 2, you saw a lot of fights where we have only 2 people left alive, but we won the fight, and that's all we care about. A lot of teams like to play where they don't want anybody to die, anybody to get picked, but when we lose 1, we're still going to go full throttle.
It ended up working for you at the end of the day. I got to say, Cammy, congratulations on the victory. Congratulations on guaranteeing playoffs. Who you'll play from which side of divisions is still very much to be determined here in ECAC. But before we let you go, any final thoughts from you? Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to the crowd? All floors are yours.
I think my personal shout out has to be for Phobic because he came into last season. I don't know. You guys kind of saw a little bit in ECC. He wasn't playing as much, but now after a lot of coaching, it feels like he's really getting up there. And I'm really proud of him for getting to that point of being able to play Tracer and have very good tracking with Tracer and get there. So, and also you saw that man on Circuit Royale. He was popping grapes all the time. And I'm really glad to see that he's evolved a lot as a player.
Well, it was great to see not only you, but honestly Phobic just absolutely sniping people out of thin air, just completely clipping wings of some players as well. It was great to see. Amazing game from you guys and a great series as well. Congrats on the playoffs and congrats on the dub. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, Jesse, Game 2 of the day done. We've seen Rocket League end in a 4-1. We saw Overwatch 2 end in a 3-1. Final thoughts from you on this one before we send things over to Valorant?
I will say, honestly, Phobic, this might have been the coming out party for Phobic. It was a ridiculous performance for them today. And I'm very curious, especially against a team like Illinois Wesleyan, who you need to bring your best at. They could be the secret weapon that CSI has been kind of, not want to say lacking, but they've been missing for a tiny bit. And I cannot wait to see how they do against a team to that caliber.
I talked about clipping wings. We just saw Air 777. Luckily for you, if you happen to like Air/Planes/777s, the Air Force Academy is playing up next. They'll take on Colorado State University in Mountain West Valorant when we come back from the break. It's Hail Monkey Man and Zach Riven taking you through the Mountain West Valorant action.